Okay, hello. How you guys doing tonight? This is John Rodriguez once again, playing in Ugly Tuna's Tuesday Night Challenge. We have been sitting out for the first half hour of this tournament, mainly because I didn't get a chance to get home on time. Also because as I was getting home, I kind of didn't rush, knowing that the structure of the tournament would allow me to get here even late and still have, pretty good amount of big blinds when I did end up sitting down. So we are playing a six-handed tournament. I think it goes without saying that six-handed tournaments tend to play a lot looser pre-flop. So our range when we start off a tournament like this is going to be significantly different than our starting range when we are actually playing a nine-handed table. So we're going to get into a lot of things today, maybe some six-handed strategy, but not every day do I get a chance to play six-handed tournaments. I think it's kind of cool that Ugly Tuna offers different styles of tournaments in his challenges. So sometimes he'll offer a deuce to seven tournament, or a mixed game tournament, or an 8-game tournament. There's times he offers stud high-low. So one of the variations of poker, which you might not consider it's a variation, but six-handed poker, six-handed no-limit hold'em is the game that we're playing today. And we have 23 players, I believe, who've signed up. Let's just take a look real quick. Alright, so it looks like this player, KKEKCKBK, his name is Bill. He's a chip leader. He's sitting to our direct left. And as we're in this tournament, being a chip leader probably doesn't mean a whole lot at this stage in the game, but it always is a little bit more challenging when you do have the chip leader sitting to your immediate left. So it will affect a little bit what we do. Obviously, this is a very playable hand, ace-king suited. This will be the first hand that we play of the tournament. So I think I'm going to raise to 4x. I'm okay with just getting flat called here. If I get raised, I'm probably not going to go crazy. This is a flop that, as I'm raising pre-flop, really doesn't hit a lot of my range. So rather than continuation get a bet against two opponents, I think I'm in check fold mode, just because it is the first hand that I've played, and I don't want to get out of line on the first hand that I play. Really nothing going on for me here at all. I probably should bet, but playing this hand out of position, I don't think it's something that I want to do with the chip leader sitting to my direct left. I think Bill is good enough to simply make this half pot size bet, knowing that it's checked to him twice and I'm the original raiser. So I think he's smart enough to make this bet even if he has overs to this board. But I still don't think I have enough equity in the hand to call with just one card coming, and it's very possible, extremely possible actually, that I just am drawing dead at this point to possibly a 6. So I'm just going to let go of my cards and just not overplay my ace-king. If you've seen a couple of my other videos, you'll notice that the hands which I overplay the most is ace-king, specifically ace-king suited. And when you get a flop like 5, 7, 8, 9, and you're the pre-flop raiser, it's very hard to tell the story that that flop hits your range. We get raised here to 50 chips, and with a hand like King 10, I'm just getting too good of a price. But I don't think I just want to call. I've been saying that I really want to be raising in these spots, so I think I'm definitely raising in this spot. I want to know that I'm up against a good hand, and I think I can bet 750 here and normally get Den's hands to fold. So by me just calling pre-flop, I'm not really setting the tone for how this hand is going to go. but by me raising pre-flop, I'm essentially taking control of the pot. And I said in a video earlier that I'm not going to be just flat calling, defending, playing hands like this out of position. I am going to be either raising or folding. So if I do have a hand that's worth playing, I think when my big blind does get raised, I think I'm going to be in a spot where I want to be re-raising. Especially now that I'm six-handed, now the more I think about it, I think I'm going to be playing my semi-decent hands a lot stronger. Here I'm absolutely going to be in the hand, but I'm going to be set mining. I don't know much about BS Brawler. I don't know what he's just limping with. I know he doesn't have a whole lot of chips, considering the rest of the people at the table. I think he's in 5th place. When this board checks around to me, I think I can bet. I don't think I have to bet big. I think I can bet 75. And even if this works a little bit of the time, and I do get a couple folds, then I feel like I'm in good shape. If I do get a call here, I'm not necessarily going to assume that I'm beat right this second. There are some draws that will continue for this price. I think Jack 10 continues. I think Ace Queen continues. But it looks like the 75 chip bet gets through. And not for nothing, you know, it's not like we're out there completely bluffing. We did have a pair, so it's probably not smart to be checking and slow playing your 7. There's just way too many cards that can come on the turn that are not, that you're just never going to continue with. Now I know I said before the flop that I was going to be set mining, but in a spot where I'm in position and everybody's limped, so nobody's really established that they have a good hand, so a king really doesn't necessarily fall in everybody's range. I think I'm probably the most likely to have a hand, and when the board does, when the opponents do check around to me, I think with a pair, I think I do have a mathematical responsibility to you know, make maybe a 40% bet. I think if I bet more, I think if I bet 150, I might actually get looked up more often than if I bet 75. I think it's very likely that somebody will take a look at the fact that I am betting from the button, and if I'm betting you know, a pot-sized bet, it might look like I'm just trying to take a pot down right there. So I think maybe draws do continue a little bit more. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you'd be surprised how many people in this game think that when you bet something callable that you do have a good amount of showdown value. In this spot, nobody's raised my blind, so I really don't have a decision to make here with Queen 8, so we can just check and see a flop. Again, playing six-handed, especially now that we have this seat empty right here, we're actually playing five-handed, we can be a little bit more aggressive with our semi-draws. You know, so if I had any sort of draw here, if I had like a 7-6, or you know, or some sort of backdoor draw, I think I'd be okay with playing this hand. But with no draws and really no equity in the hand, I think I can get away from it. So how are you guys doing today? I am actually just coming back from dinner. I would normally try to get to these tournaments on time. Actually, if you were to ask some of the players here, there are times where I've sat out for, you know, the first hour, sometimes even longer, of this tournament. And the structure of the tournament, where we start with 5,000 chips, you know, I'll get back to the tournament, you know, even an hour into the tournament, the blinds are still around 25-50 or 30-60, and there's no antes at that point, so I can make up in 1 or 2 pots what I lost in blinds for that entire hour. A hand like this, there's no reason to continue with 3 high, even six-handed. So basically, what I'm going to be trying to do today is to kind of hold my own until we get to a point where we get four-handed. I think four-handed, I'm going to start to get a lot more aggressive. Hands like, you know, 7-9 suited, ace 7, ace 8 and better, I'll be raising a lot. And I think right now, even though it's five-handed and it might seem like I can get pretty aggressive with a lot of my hands, it's still very early on in the tournament, and the blinds don't really warrant me getting too out of line right away. Also, these are the first few hands that I'm playing at the table. A lot of these players have seen me play before, so they do have some notes on me. They do have some reads on me, and I'll be aware of that. Specifically Bill, because we've played live heads up, and we've also played in other spots as well. I think I'm going to limp here. I'm going to make a limp, and then I'm going to min bet pretty much any flop and see how that gets around. See if that line works against the small stack in the big blind here. If the big blind raises, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. Turns out I get a really good flop. I don't think that's going to change my line as much. I think with such a dry board, I think a 50 chip bet gets through a lot of the time, and I think I can still get hands like 7X's and diamond draws to continue. Could I bet 100? I probably could and still get those hands to continue, but I like this line that I'm taking because just overall, when you take this line, you really only have to be right and win this pot 1 out of 4 times for it to be a profitable line. And I saw this line being taken by a player in the last tournament that we were in when the blinds were in a similar relationship percentage-wise to the stacks that we had. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to try that line and see if it works on a regular basis. And if it works for me 50% of the time, then I'm definitely going to put that in my arsenal as a very profitable line to take, even with junk hands like 3-7 and 6-8. So I'm just going to try it out, and I'm going to see if my small blind and big blind opponents find ways to push back if they see me taking that line too often. I can always be making raises with my hands when the blinds are a little bit bigger and they're worth stealing. Right now, these blinds, even though we do have an ante that's in play, I just don't think they're worth stealing to a point where you really need to ruin your table image by making lots of button raises. The math is going to say to make lots of button raises regardless, but I think we're going to be playing hands very much like what Dennis is doing here. We're going to be introducing a lot of 4-betting, specifically 3-betting and 4-betting in a lot of pots just because of the nature of short-handed play. When BS Brawler makes this 4x bet, I'm pretty sure he's super strong here. I just don't see a lot of 4-bet bluffs. I'm curious to know what Dennis is flat calling a 4-bet with when the spade pops off. I just don't know what kind of card would have come where he would have continued. So, we're gonna go ahead and fold this, and I just want to see the way Den 2115 ends up playing this hand, leaving himself 1,000 chips. So, Den 2115 is on the button with 31 bigs, and he just limps the button. Which is fine, I just took that line before. And BS Brawler just checks. So BS Brawler could have pretty much anything in this spot. And when BS Brawler, when the small blind makes a really shitty bet of just 60 into a pot with a jack and a 10 out there, he's got to know that someone's going to want to continue. When you get a min raise here, I'm not quite sure what that min raise means. But normally it's pretty strong because anybody who has just a jack is probably going to want to protect against any straight draws, any flush draws, and so this raise is going to be a lot bigger for the most part. Not knowing anything, just in a vacuum, looking at BS Brawler, saying, when you're making a min raise and your 3-bet is basically almost half pot, you're basically inviting more callers, you're inviting more action. So I think a bet like this is super strong. So I'm just going to assume that BS Brawler had a really good hand. The question is, Dennis ends up 4-betting to 372, which does look extremely strong. Maybe he senses weakness in BS Brawler. Maybe he thinks that he can pull a squeeze play and just win the pot right there. Which is fine. I actually love the play. If this raise is just slightly larger, say in the 450-500 range, I think the squeeze play works a lot of the time. Which is why I hate this 60 chip bet, because you really aren't in control of the hand at all, and you're out of position. So this bet is just terrible. But so anyway, the way the hand works out, BS Brawler ends up putting way more chips in, but he's making a raise again, which is almost inviting someone in position to 5-bet shove. He's not drawing a line in the sand. He's really super, like, this is basically the strongest 5-bet that you can make and still only be an 800 chip bet. What I think is interesting is that Dennis ends up just calling. When Dennis ends up just calling, I think he's very likely to have a hand like King Queen. Do I think King Queen makes this 4-bet? I think a very speculative, creative player who has such a super draw with 2 overs is going to win this pot pre-flop so often that I do like making this raise with king queen. We are not sure what we're going to do here with pocket threes. Let's just take a moment and think about it. It looks like Dennis behind us only has 689 chips, so I'm going to go ahead and min raise, assuming Dennis is going to go all in when he senses that weakness. And I think Dennis is moving all in with a hand like queen jack or king jack or some sort of Broadway cards. I'm not putting him on a pair right away. Of course, I didn't really see where the hand, what happened in the hand previous to this, but I think with a pair, I'm just not going to fold. So, yeah, so we're up against ace-10, and we hit a 3, which is, very fortunate for us. He's pretty much, oh, well, he was drawing dead. But it looks like we're able to make a solid call, hit the set, and show that when we are making raises, we're doing so with pocket pairs. And anytime you get a chance to show down a pocket pair, it sort of helps your opponents understand your raising range is not queen 7. So when we get 3x bet here with a deuce 6, like I said, I'm going to be raise folding a lot of this. I'm not just going to be flat defending. So a hand like deuce 6 is pretty much an easy fold, so we don't mind to fold. Just going back to the way this hand plays out over here, I think when Dennis ends up flat calling, I think king queen plays this way a lot. I think ace queen plays this way sometimes. I don't think a single jack plays this way all the time. It's pretty unfortunate that we're not, there's nobody else in the hand, so I think it's pretty cut and dry that we have to raise. I don't think limping with queens is a good idea against a chip leader, just because we have a hand that it's very difficult for us to fold post flop, and playing out of position against a chip leader, he can put us to the test in a lot of ways where we don't really want to get put to the test. So I think we have to raise. I think it goes without saying that we have to raise with queens, but it's just unfortunate that nobody else wanted to jump in the hand with us and splash around a little bit. So we started this tournament out with 5,000 chips, as we always do in Tuna's tournaments. And as you can see, I sat out for the first half hour, and the nature of the tournament, the structure of the tournament allows me to play a few pots, win a few hands, and I'm right back to an average stack. We got a really ridiculous all-in here with only 625 in the pot. Basically saying, I have a small flush. If you have a better flush, you can call. That's essentially what this bet is saying. I have like a 3-4 of hearts, and good luck to you if you want to outdraw me. I don't think sets are making this bet. Yeah, queens is an easy fold there, bud, but I do, I don't know if you were going to continue to any bet anyway. Let's just say for a moment, KI 002 ends up, making a normal size continuation bet of 400. Is the chip leader really going to continue with queens? And especially 2 black queens, I just don't see that as being something that he's doing all the time. Ace queen, I think I can raise. With ace queen. I don't like ace queen. It's a lot prettier than it looks. I actually don't like the way this ace queen feels at all. I actually hate that I'm being called. Again, we're flopping. We're raising with Broadway cards, so there's really no reason to pretend that we've hit this flop in any way. I hate playing this hand out of position against a chip leader, especially a chip leader who has the technical skill that Bill has as a poker player. The fact that he checks behind here, I don't think I can. I think betting is extremely profitable for me, but I don't even have a lot of draws. Like, what are good cards to me? Like, a jack is not a good card. There's very few good cards that are gonna come out for me. So if he goes out and makes a small bet like he did last time, like I said, when you have a player who's been checked to twice and he makes a half pot size bet, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're behind in the hand thus far. But again, I just don't want to get involved at this point in the tournament with 0 equity in the pot. Yes, there's a possibility that I still do have the best hand. I could be up against Queen Jack. I could be up against a worse hand than Ace Queen. But just not something I'm willing to speculate with right this second. I'm very happy to have accumulated 20% more chips than I started with since I've sat down in a very short amount of time. I know that when we're playing six-handed, I'm going to have to open up my aggression, and I'm going to have to make continuation bets. And I prefer to make continuation bets against a chip leader who understands my style of play. I prefer to make those continuation bets with at least some equity in the hand, something like middle pair or some sort of decent draw. But with just ace high, I'd much prefer to react to my opponent's bet and not make any mistakes. So, you know, this is an obvious fold. There's a lot of spots here in this tournament where I'm going to want to play back at my opponents, but I just sat down. I'd like to play for a little while before I shoot myself in the foot. I think a lot of poker players will play a six-handed tournament and, you know, immediately start playing by the rules and start 3-betting and 4-betting and raising late pre-flop. But we, again, still have so many chips, I think, that we can be making some good folds. It's part of the patience that I need to practice, and it's something I'm absolutely going to be practicing. This hand looks like it wants to call, but I'm okay with the fold. We have a couple players that we have notes on, so let's just take a look at the notes that we have. Notes on Warger. Warger has a pretty good track record in these tournaments. Also likes to bet less than half pot after making raises, and we'll continue with a less than half pot bet here a lot, so I would expect a 400 chip bet right around now, maybe 360. Yeah, even less. This bet is super weak, but Warger's doing this with the top of a range and also with the bottom of a range. So I think what she's trying to do is get a read on KI002 and find out if that person's willing to call bets. I wouldn't be surprised if Warger makes another small bet here. And, you know, this is sort of Warger's MO, that Warger's willing to fire 3 barrels a lot of the time, regardless of the cards that come out, and the bet sizing is just way off. So I do have some notes here which I'm going to, you know, have a good approach with Warger. So unfortunately when you're playing six-handed you end up playing a lot more hands, and I'll get to the notes in a little bit. I think this is a very good spot for me to be raising. I know I just didn't play King-Jack before. I don't know what I'm going to do if BS Brawler ends up over-shoving. So I think I'm going to raise to 720. And I think that looks very strong. I think I get KI to fold, and I think BS Brawler might look me up. I don't know what I'm going to do if BS Brawler shoves. I think I might be priced into call, but that's part of the problem with raising. But I think I sized my raise in a way where BS Brawler can't just call. So BS Brawler's in a spot where they call 500 chips, and there's already 1,100 in the middle, and they only have 1,400 or 1,500 behind. So actually they'll probably have 1,900 behind. So it's just a really tough spot for them to flat call me. So they have to make an all-in or fold decision. So that was part of the plan in my sizing there, to really squeeze out KI002. When KI002 makes that raise, there's a lot of the time where KI actually has a good hand, and there's a small percentage of the time where KI is frustrated about losing a pot to Warger and is snap raising the very next hand because they just lost the last hand that they were in. So I think with a hand like King-Jack, even though it's not super strong, with my position and knowing that there's it's a good spot to squeeze, I think I can comfortably make that raise. Now, if I do get called by KI, I'm probably in a lot of trouble. That means I'm probably up against a hand like Ace-Jack or better. I don't think KI is calling a 4-bet with Ace-10 or Ace-9, so I think Ace-Jack or better, which probably has me in really rough shape. So that's something I have to consider. But the pros definitely outweigh the cons making that bet, and again, I was able to push it through. So the notes I have on Warger says we'll lead out flops no matter who the pre-flop raiser is, which we just saw. Provided she hit top pair or close to top pair, we'll value bet river small. Of course, we just had notes saying that she would do that. I think the best approach is to raise big when you have a big hand and make her make some decisions. Also, she called a bet on the river recently against me with 4 diamonds, and she didn't have a diamond. So she sticks to her decision when she's in check call mode. So I'm not supposed to be bluffing this player. but when I do have the nuts, I need to be shoving rivers and betting rivers big, because I'm probably going to get called, because when Warder decides that she's in check call mode, she's not terribly concerned with what the board is doing, according to the notes that I have on this player. So we're going to try and take advantage of those notes when we do get in a hand with Warder. We do have some notes on some other players, which we'll go over in just a moment. So KI002, player limps in the cutoff with an ace and raises my flop bet on an ace-high board. So KI is liable to be limping with aces and raising with just a one pair spot is willing to be making raises. I think a lot of these notes, now that I think about it, are pertinent in 9-handed situations, because the notes that I took were during 9-handed games. So I think if I take any further notes on the players that I'm up against, I'm going to have to remark that that note was taken during a 6-handed game. Now Warder's min-raising here. I think this is a great spot for me to get involved by just calling from the small blind. I think KK EK is good enough to be making a re-raise, but we're family pot here. I do have a little bit of equity in this hand. I think Warder's going to be continuing light. I think Warder's going to be continuing with jacks and just a queen, maybe making like 120 chip bet and making us make decisions. The question is whether or not I'm going to call a small bet if KKEK checks. If KKEK checks and Warder makes a small bet and BS Brawler folds, I think I'm still folding. I think Warder's folding as well, and BS Brawler might fold. Might call, yeah. And I just don't have enough to get caught monkey in the middle here with just a small pair, so I can get out of the way. But we're going to try and take some new notes on these players. I'm interested to know what BS Brawler is just calling 400 with the pot being the way it is right now. I don't know if they are not comfortable moving in, which is top pair. I wonder if KKEK knows that they can make a 400 chip bet with a really strong hand and BS Brawler can overshove. Maybe he's instigating an overshove here. I really am putting I'm putting a chip leader here on a good hand. Well, I guess it's a pretty good hand. I wonder what BS Brawler is calling with. Maybe a King 10. I'd actually say BS Brawler has King 10 exactly to make that call. Should I be raising here? I think so. I think I should be raising here. So we flopped open-ended straight draw. This is enough equity for me to be continuation betting. So that's obviously the best card in the deck for us, and we got led into. I don't know what I want to do here. See, because KKEK could be just setting a trap here. He also could be setting a price for him to continue on all his flush draws. So by him leading out half pot, maybe he has an ace-high flush and has hit an ace, and he's feeling very comfortable on his flush draws. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call and fold on hearts. I don't think I can ever fold this hand. I think I've got to punish. I think I'm going to punish. I think if I'm up against an ace-high flush draw, I think I'm still getting called if I shove all in. So I'm just going to put all my chips in the middle and see if he's willing to make this call. It's going to be really tough for him if he has an ace-high flush draw, because he's got the pair of aces and he's got the hearts. So he might be thinking that he still has some equity by making this call, and I think he's willing to try and knock me out. So I might end up getting called here. It's a very tough spot for him if he does have an ace-high flush draw. Obviously, he has a pair of aces and a couple hearts. Very tough spot for him. He is capable of making extremely big laydowns. Well, hopefully you get a chance to see my stream. I'll just tell him what I had. Actually, I don't think I'm going to tell him what I had. The question is, with his exact hand, does it make sense for me to move all in? And I think it does. I think a lot of players, I'm actually semi-impressed that he's able to make this laydown. I'm wondering if I should have raised smaller, but I think raising smaller looks fishier than moving all in. There's people who would argue that for this hand, I probably should have. There's people that would argue that for this hand, I probably should have just flat called. The question is whether or not I would have. Oh, so he's just calling with Ace King pre-flop, so he's showing some restraint by just calling with Ace King pre. And he's checking, his 2 overs in a straight draw, and I'm making, a very serious bet here. I don't mind his call with the 2 overs in a straight draw because it's very easy for me to just not have it yet. When he does flop an ace, he insta-bets. He's insta-betting half pot when he's hitting the overpair. So I guess that's not necessarily a tell or anything like that, but at least we know he's not bluffing, like when he's insta-betting in that spot. It's absolutely not bluffing. I'm trying to figure out a way I could have played this hand more profitably and up against potential draws. And the only draw I guess I'm worried about is a flush draw, right? So, it's he either has clubs or he has hearts. Clubs are obviously a lot harder for him to have by calling the flop bet. So I think it's a lot easier for him to have hearts in this spot. I guess it's just a really good fold by Bill there, and I've seen him make some pretty solid folds, some really good folds. So congratulations, Bill, for making that fold. I actually thought that maybe I could just call, but I thought to myself also that by calling this, basically almost 1,000 chips and leaving myself with roughly 3,500 chips, that the pot would just be too big for me to fold to any river, right? So say the river's a heart, right? And this Bill character makes like a half pot size bet, or any sort of bet. It's just too much. It's just too much for me to just fold. So my chips are getting in there. I'd rather have my chips getting good than get in bad. So I think in this spot, it's just me being greedy. By if I choose to walk the dog and slow play my straight, that would be catastrophic if I was up against a flush and didn't really test him. Because I do think a lot of ace high flushes play this exact same way. And even maybe we'll make a bad call and make that mistake, and I'll get the equity that I need in here now on the turn, rather than seeing a brick river, like seeing like a 4 of clubs or maybe like a 4 of diamonds, and Bill shuts down and I try and make a bet, and obviously with the size of the pot I'm going to end up making a sizable bet, and Bill ends up just deciding he's not going to continue with just the one pair. So I do like my raise, and I think I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I probably could have made a little bit more, but I also was all in against a chip leader, and that's always a scary spot. So it was a nice little rush. We were able to turn King Jack into a hand where we made 50% more of our chip set. So good for us. So it looks like we're doing pretty well. All things considered, hands are playing really fast. The players at this table are not getting out of line. Actually, surprisingly, BS Brawler here still has chips. Let's take a look at BS Brawler's notes. Not that I really care, because he only has 900 chips and the blinds are about to go up to 50, 100, so he's really going to have 9 big blinds in about 5 minutes. Actually, I have so many notes and I'm not going to read through all this, but I do remember this guy. I remember how he plays, and I do remember how I want to play an opponent like BS Brawler. I think Bill's probably still wondering if he let go the best hand. I think that hurts. There's a lot of players that'll just snap show. Oh, okay, look, so BS Brawler got it in good and needs to fade a 9. I like that PokerStars has gone to putting the percentages right next to the players' cards. I think it's a really cool thing that they did, because there's a lot of players that use those percentages to make decisions, and when you actually see, when you're all in, what the decision ends up being, it's kind of fun. So I think my standard raise at this table has been 3x, and I think I've gotten it in and made some huge bets post-flop. So I think I like my 3x bet. I probably could go a little smaller. I probably could be betting like 220. I don't think I'm afraid of a king. I think if he has a king, then congratulations. But I do think that I can make a small bet. I think I can bet 240. How am I going to get this guy's chips in the middle? If he has a queen, will he call my 240 chips? Maybe. Maybe not. My worst nightmare is he's holding a hand like 9-10, you know, and ends up flopping something silly, or turning something silly where he wants to continue. I don't know if I wanted to call. I think I'm okay with just winning the hand with middle pair there. Yeah, so it looks like BS Brawler is, throwing his haymakers now and saying, fuck you guys, I've got 1,500 chips. If you're raising and I'm playing my hand, I'm going to play for all the chips. So I like having him directly to my right here. It makes my decisions a lot easier when I am planning on speculating. A lot of playing six-handed, I think, is speculating in position, calling a lot of hands that you probably normally wouldn't call nine-handed. So having BS Brawler here is going to make a lot of my decisions very easy, very binary, in where I am either raising or folding. So it looks like Chip Leader really isn't active and doesn't need to be active. I'm going to be raising pretty much my entire range here against Warger when I'm here on the button. Don't know what I'm going to do if BS Brawler decides to move. Yeah, it's just not enough. Queen high. I mean, let's think about what he's moving all in with. Is he moving all in with Queen 10? I think sometimes he's moving all in with Queen 10. Is he moving all in with pocket 7s? I think a lot of the time he's moving all in with pocket 7s. I just don't think with players to act behind me. I think if I have Queen Jack here in the big blind, I might consider making this call. I know it's a terrible, terrible call, but I might consider it a lot more than if I wasn't the last person. I might consider it more if I was the last person to act than obviously with two players to act behind me, and I could get myself in a really bad spot. So BS Brawler has decided that with 18 to 20 bigs, that's sort of his shoving range with a lot of his playable hands. So right now he's sitting with 20 big blinds, and he's still putting all his chips in the middle pre-flop. And I think that's a very effective shoving range. I think shoving ranges used to be for me somewhere around, obviously anytime I've got 5 to 10 big blinds, I'm probably always just moving all in. I think when you get to that 15 big blind range, it's sort of weird. It's like a weird spot for you to be shoving all in. You don't know whether or not a min raise would have done the same job, and possibly you could be doing a lot more min raising and folding with your cards that you can get away with. I'm wondering if BS Brawler has any fold equity if he just makes a min raise, right? So let's say BS Brawler makes a min raise from early position here. Are we folding? Our King Jacks maybe, but I think he's going to have to be pretty active as the blinds move up in a minute to 50, 100. He's going to have to be pretty friggin' active, and one of us is going to have to make a light decision. Actually, now the more that I think about it, if he does get really active, I don't necessarily like my position with the chip leader directly to my left, because the chip leader could be calling his all-ins when I'm calling with ace-queen. The chip leader could very well have much bigger hands and overshove and put me to some major tests. So, oh wow, pretty sick run out for Warger there, huh? Pretty sick run out. What ends up happening here? I don't think I'm mad at the way this hand plays out, just because Warger ends up flopping top pair, top kicker, right? So I fold, BS Brawler folds. We get a 2.5x raise from the chip leader. Warger's calling on the button with an ace-9, which is pretty standard for six-handed to be calling with any ace. flops top pair, there's no issue. Bill is betting more than half pot here with an overpair, so that's interesting to note that he's still betting right around the half pot range. Warger's flat calling with top pair top kicker, which is pretty sneaky. So this is a very strong second bet, 640, another half pot size bet, and Warger's just calling. And when the 5 pops off, Warger is moving all in, maybe? Why is Warger not moving all in with the nut flush? Actually, Warger doesn't end up having the nut flush, only has the ace high flush, so a 7 of hearts would have been the nuts. So super, super conservative from Warger here. Maybe she feels like Bill's never calling a re-raise in that spot, right? So, so when Bill makes this bet, when Bill makes this 1250 bet, right? If Warger's ever raising the 1250, like say the Warger raises to 3,000 or 3,800, is Bill ever calling with a king high flush? He's good enough to get away from those spots on a when the board runs out and you're holding the nuts here, you're really only getting called by a 7 of hearts or nothing. So even though it looks super conservative, I'm actually pretty okay with the fact that you just get a call here. But it's kind of, I personally would be raising just for thin value. If you want to call an ace high flush thin value, I'm interested. If I was in that spot, would I raise? And I think all the time I'm just raising for just value, just in case. Maybe I'm min raising. Maybe I'm raising. Just snap. Button clicking, hitting min raise, and saying, look, if you have a 7 of hearts, you're going to 5 bet me or 4 bet me, and I'm going to know exactly where I am. If you have a king of hearts, maybe you just call and I get an extra 1,250 chips out of the deal. So who knows? But Warger is extremely conservative. Obviously, with her bets being small and her calls, she's not really 4-betting or 3-betting in spots where she doesn't have the stone cold nuts. And even in this spot, she's got an excellent, super strong hand, like a king high flush, and not really getting out of hand. So it's just a testament to her longevity in these types of tournaments. And there's enough players that will not give her credit for having a super strong hand because she's not 3-betting and 4-betting, and they're just calling in spots where they shouldn't be calling. Ace-Jack in this spot, I think it's a raise, but it looks like a really fishy raise. So I think I'm going to keep my 3x bet. Even though I know I'm going to get at least one caller, I'm still in position and I still have ace-high. So at least I got the small blind and the big blind to get out of the hand. I get a really good flop, obviously. Could Tesla just be walking the dog here, limping with pocket aces, and checking to me because this board hits? Do I get re-raised a lot of the time? Yeah, I think so. But I think I can bet 400 here. And if Tesla has a hand like King Queen, they're always continuing. Here we flopped, or we've turned 2 pair. So what are the hands we're afraid of, right? Like we're afraid of aces, obviously. I think in this spot I can check behind and be in check call mode here to pretty much anything that Tesla's willing to bet. Now, if Tesla has pocket aces, Tesla's betting, right? If Tesla has a set, Tesla's betting this river. If Tesla has 2 pair, Tesla's betting. If Tesla has a straight, Tesla's betting. So there's very little that we're afraid of in this spot. So the question is, if we are up against a single pair, what's a single pair going to call? And I think I can value bet 500 here and get Tesla to call a lot of the time. So we know that Tesla's calling us with 1 pair in these spots, and maybe even called us with something silly like Queen Jack or King Jack. So we're able to show down a pretty good hand, and I think we made a decent amount of money by not betting the ace on the turn and waiting to make sure that we were up against a hand that we knew we were going to get paid off on the river. So actually, Tesla's looking us up with 3rd pair. 3rd pair we're getting looked up with. And so that river bet was probably perfect. I think if I bet any more on the river, this bet on the river of, what was it, 500? So I'm betting less than a 3rd pot on Riv, and I think if I bet like 800 or 900, if I bet any more than 10% of Tesla's stack, I'm never getting called, right? So if I bet 7 or 800, I don't think Tesla's willing to risk more than 10%. And I think that's the threshold. I talked about this in a video before, how when you're making bets that you know you want to get called, if you're making a bet that's less than 10% of what your opponent's stack is, they are astronomically more likely to call you down than if you're making a bet that's more than 10% of what their actual stack is. And you should try it. You should definitely try that theory out. It definitely has worked for me in the past. And I think that's the range, is, 6, 7, 8, 9% on rivers where you're value betting. If you make those bets, you're a lot likelier to get called down by middle pair or even weak top pairs. So we're able to make some value with our ace jack off. We are getting hit with the deck here, guys. I think I like raising to 300 here. Obviously, I'm calling this all in if BS Brawler decides to move all in. Question is if I'm going to raise for isolation if BS Brawler decides to move all in. So I think I have the best hand here a lot of the time. If BS Brawler was calling here with a hand like pocket fours, what do I want to do here? I want to bet to 555. I think that's enough to get Kiki out of the hand and let me know if BS Brawler wants to move all in right now. If BS Brawler wants to move all in, I know I'm definitely behind, but I'm going to have a mathematical decision on whether or not my ace queen is still live. And 7, so I have to bet 765 chips to win 2,800 chips. So I'm getting 4 to 1, right? So I'm getting 4 to 1 on a call. And what are my outs? I have 6 outs. That's 12. That's 24%. So I have to win this hand 1 out of 4 times, and I'm getting 4 to 1. So I'm getting the exact price to call. So I'm just going to go ahead and make the call. And this is exactly what I thought that BS Brawler has in this spot. So it's just kind of an unfortunate situation. But I think BS Brawler played his hand perfectly by not re-raising all in pre-flop, waiting to see a safe flop. Making a bet on the flop that would induce me to make a raise, and even so, sometimes when you see a hand coming, you still end up playing it based on the math. So I'm actually applauding BS Brawler for the way he plays that hand right there. That flop bet was genius. I think by making that flop bet, he's going to induce. He's going to be inducing me to raise. At the best case scenario for him is if I raise. Worst case scenario is I call and a scary card comes on the turn. But the way the hand plays out, he plays his hand absolutely 100% perfectly, and I shipped over chips to him that I probably shouldn't have shipped over. But let's talk about this in a different situation, right? So say I have ace queen and I make my raise to 300, right? I make my raise to 300, and KI002 calls, and BS Brawler decides at 7s and he wants to push with the 7s. Well, I'm calling his all in, right? Like, there's never a situation where I'm not calling his all in. When BS Brawler makes this min raise here, and I have king 10, I don't think it's good enough to re-raise. I think it's good enough to see a lot of flops and make some decisions later. This is obviously the best flop in the world, so I'm actually okay with check shoving, or really putting BS Brawler to the test if he does decide to continue for 200. I don't know what I want to do with this player behind me, so I think I'm going to raise to 777, and hopefully BS decides he's going to shove with, like, say, a king or something along those lines. But I'm really putting BS to the test here, and I'm always calling this all day, right? So we're stuck in this hand. Alright, so we're really in bad shape now, but we're not in the worst shape. Alright. Look, what do you want to do? I mean, we have a choice to fold pre-flop, right? I don't think I'm ever folding to the 200 pre-flop. We both flop top pair with a board that, king 4-7 we're not too afraid of. BS Brawler makes a standard continuation bet. I make a standard raise with top pair and a flush draw, and we get it in. So I think equity-wise, I wonder. Equity-wise, I think we were still 50-50. Even though he has me outkicked with the jack, I think on this flop, we're still pretty much 50-50. There's a lot of times where BS Brawler, just has ace high in the spot, is making a continuation bet, and I'm ahead so often that, you know, I just basically hit the top of his range there. Again, I've put myself in a position where, you know, by doubling up BS Brawler a couple times, I'm still not in terrible shape. I'm really not in bad shape. So, you know, a lot of the bets that I've made up to this point have allowed me to essentially free roll, putting BS Brawler all in for his tournament life 2 or 3 times in a row. So, you know, we know when BS Brawler is making his min raises, you know, he's got Broadway cards. He showed up with basically Broadway cards in good hands. He's not just making min raises with, you know, the 5/8s of the world. It's kind of boring watching poker and not being able to see my reaction, right? Like, you guys would probably have a lot of fun looking at my facial expressions when I see some of these hands. I get silent sometimes, right? So you know, BS Brawler ends up showing up there with a King Jack. You should have seen the look on my face. It was just a look, not of disgust, but just like, you know, kind of like, here we go again. You know, like, yeah, how are we gonna figure this one out? You know, I guess a picture's worth 1,000 words. I think in my next video I'm gonna try and put my video, a video right here in the corner here, so that you guys can see my facial expressions as these hands come out. Not that you want to see my face or anything like that. Of course you don't, but. I just think it's kind of cool to be able to see. I talk with my hands a lot too, so that's something that you guys aren't seeing. So I think I'm going to try and do that for my next video. I probably could do it now. I just don't want it. Not knowing how to use this software, I don't want to go back and try and do that while this video is still recording. So I'll make a note to do it next time. So we've got action on pretty much every flop, right? Like, when's the last time we saw a flop that got raised and folded all the way around? Because I can't remember one. You know, pretty much every raise is getting called, and that's just the nature of six-handed poker. People are a lot looser and will look you up a lot more often. Ace 4 is the stone cold bottom of my range, right? That I'm going to end up playing. I'm hoping to just get a limp from the big blind. And I had mentioned before that I'm in a spot where I'm not going to just be flat defending. This is really just a strange min 3-bet from BS Brawler here. I mean, you know, is he ever doing this with less than queens? I don't think so. Right? So you kind of just have to tip your hat and say, you know, you've turned your cards face up. You know, you've basically shown that you have an amazing hand. And I wouldn't be surprised if you get 3 barrels here from overpair, like queens, kings, or aces. Yeah, I think all the money's going in here. What are you doing, bud? So I think we're all a little bit confused with BS Brawler's line. I mean, take a look at this line, right? Like, what hand plays this way? Where you're in the small blind, and it gets min raised to you, and you just 3-bet min raise. I guess, granted, maybe you're in control of the pot. Maybe you gain some control of the hand, but I just don't see why you're doing that. And then you make a small bet, which is the same as a pot size raise. I talked about this earlier in a video that I did. When you've made a bet. When someone's already put 300 chips in the middle, and then your next bet is the exact same, that bet is pretty much always getting called. Like, it's very difficult to make a bluff where you're betting the exact same amount as what your opponent has already put into the middle of the pot. So that's something to consider when you're trying to run a bluff, that you should probably run a bluff for more than what your opponent has already put in the pot, because you haven't really established anything about your hand by betting 300 when your last bet was 300 and I already called the 300. So BS Brawler is basically on a tear here, raising every pot. I don't know how I'm going to react to that. Ace Deuce is a fold for me. I don't think I need to get out of line with Ace Deuce. I think BS Brawler has been raising a lot and has been very active here. I'm going to let this side of the table you know, play a pot. Very well could have raised, but I just chose not to. Guess it works out that I didn't. Am I still recording? Yeah. Alright, cool. Pretty strong bet here from Tesla. It's going to be very hard for Kiki to just call this. I stand corrected. 9-10 maybe plays this way. Yeah. Tesla decides to check river, but I think he really, well, I guess he's never getting called from worse, right? Like, I don't think an 8's calling. I think if Tesla makes like Tesla probably could have made a bet and gotten an ace to call, you know, on this exact board. You know, say Kiki's calling, you know, with ace high because he just, with the way the texture of this board is, he's thinking that Tesla doesn't have it yet. Some players just get sticky and say, no, you don't have it yet. So when the board double pairs here, 4s and 7s, if Kiki does have an ace high, I think if Tesla makes a bet like, you know, 200-300, 400-500, if Kiki's willing to call that on the turn with just ace high, he's probably willing to call that on the river with just ace high. So he maybe missed out on a small percentage of the time by really betting with, not thin value because you do have a full house, but just enough to where, you know, if you do get raised, you're probably beat anyway. Pretty substantial raise here from BS Brawler. I think he's absolutely just trying to buy this pot, but there's nothing I can do with King 3. So you got to admire BS Brawler's aggressive style at this point. Also, the fact that he's being hit with a shit ton of cards. You know, I don't know if I like the raise to 890 with Jacks. Jacks is a sort of a funny hand that people kind of hate. I guess if I had to really think about it, I probably take a look at a lot of these hands, and it's like every hand that you play, to me, it's kind of like your diet. You know, like for me, when I have a hand like, you know, kings or queens, it's something I'm always playing, and it's very healthy for me to be playing these hands. So, you know, you want to be playing these hands a lot more often than you think you want to be playing them. So protecting jacks, protecting queens, protecting tens, it's just not a healthy diet. I think you need to be getting at least one caller when you're in pots with, you know, still jacks is a very strong hand to have six-handed, and you need to be making sure that you're getting at least one caller, especially, you know, someone in the big blind if you're on the button, because very rarely are you showing up with a really good hand on the button when you're playing six-handed. Your big blind opponent will often defend a lot lighter six-handed when you're making a button raise. So maybe he's defending with 2 cards less than a jack, so you're in such good shape. So I don't think it's healthy to be raising so big with jacks here. Tesla limping here. You know, there's a lot of action happening, you know, before I get a chance to act. Maybe it's saving me some chips because there's a few hands here that I have wanted to not get out of line with, but play. Queen 10 is obviously a hand I probably would have raised with. So it looks like BS Brawler is just brawling. He's just brawling, you know. He's swinging those haymakers and saying, "Hey, look, man, you're going to limp into this pot. You're going to pay the price. I'm in position. I'm going to 4x raise you, and there's very little you can do to stop me." It's kind of unfortunate that we have a player who is sitting out and only had, you know, 60 or 70 seconds. So it's very reasonable that we would have been sitting here for 70 seconds waiting for KI00 to fold. Again, I just don't like the raise size. I think at least, at the very least, he's being consistent, right? Like, but by him showing that every time he's raising big like that, then he's got to be willing to be making those raises, right? With real shit hands, like, you know, hands like 5-7 suited. He's got to be willing to be making a 5x pot size bet to us in particular, because we've seen him do that. So now next time he makes this bet, what are we going to think he has? Just natural progression of logic. What do we think BS Brawler has when he makes a 5x raise? What does he have? What's his range? Well, he's already shown that his range is jacks or better. We've seen him do it twice with jacks. We saw him do it with queens. We've seen him do it with some stronger hands. So unless he's willing to balance that range, I might get into some trouble here. Oh man, those are the, see, as far as your diet is concerned, the Jack 9s of the world, those are your sweets, right? Those are your, like, you know, you probably shouldn't have those hands. You shouldn't be playing those hands all that much. And once in a blue moon, you should be playing those hands. So I definitely could have played Jack 9 there, but I don't think I was willing to get out of line with Jack 9. And most of the time, you know, and not to be results oriented, most of the time it just works out where it was probably right for you not to be playing that hand. So it just helps. I'm doing this video and I'm saying to myself I should probably have some music in the background. What do you guys think? I mean, there's players that are able to concentrate when there's music on in the background. There's players who aren't able to listen when there's music on in the background. So maybe I'll put a little bit on. Stack sizes are getting a little bit awkward. Oh wow. So it looks like King Jack's gonna suck out here, and no longer has an awkward stack size. When Warger just min raises in this spot, if we get another caller, I'm extremely comfortable just putting all my chips in the middle right here. 100% comfortable doing it. You know, good luck if you have ace queen, then call me. You have a better hand. I think when Warger makes this snap min raise, Warger's just kind of upset a little bit that they just lost that all in when they had to pair. So that snap min raise doesn't necessarily mean that Warger has a really awesome hand. So I was really taking advantage of a timeless sort of tell in online poker where a player loses a pretty big pot, loses an all in, and the very next hand makes a snap raise, sort of a button click raise. It tends to not be the strongest. And so yes, it's exploitable if you're willing to make those snap raises. Like say Warger shows up next hand with pocket aces and makes a snap min raise. For you to lose a big hand, be tilting off a big hand, get your pocket aces, and try to understand what you want to bet with your pocket aces profitably from under the gun, and to do all that within 1 second and to make that snap raise, it's such a rare occurrence with poker players that me shoving with ace jack, I'm not even scared. Like, I'm not even nervous. Like, yeah, sure, maybe I get called. Like, maybe KI02 calls with pocket fives, right? Because they just don't believe me. They think I'm stealing. But I think it's such a plus EV play for me in the long run, where I'm probably never against ace king in this spot. I'm usually not against ace queen in this spot. And very likely I'm up against hands a lot weaker than ace jack, especially when I'm getting callers behind. I just don't think BS Brawler's in a spot where he sees two min raises and decides that with his chip stack that his really good cards are not worth shoving all in. Like, that would be if BS Brawler had a really good hand and sees a small blind out there, a big blind out there, the ante's out there, Warger's min raise out there, KI's flat call of the min raise out there, and BS here is sitting with 2K chips. Any two good cards, BS is shoving all his chips in the middle. So I'm never worried about BS's hand. I don't think I'm necessarily advocating for you guys to adopt that style, but it's just something to consider. And you can see, you know, I was able to make 15% of my chip stack by putting all my chips in the middle, where a lot of players are just going to either flat call or make a small raise out of position from the small blind and end up getting 2 or 3 callers and, you know, maybe not win the hand. So I'm okay winning the hand right there. You know, just on a macro level, when you're shoving all in, you know, does it necessarily mean strength? I don't think so. But it means the person who's calling you needs to be very, very strong. So just thinking about it in that way, if you feel extremely confident that you're dealing with dead money in the middle, I think if you're not moving all in some of the time, you're missing out on some serious value. Dead money out in the middle of a tournament is extremely valuable, and you need to be trying to find ways to win those. Not going to be defending here with 2-5 here. I think that's pretty much goes without saying. Go ahead, BS, shove. Oh, you should be shoving. I don't want to look as nitty as I look by just folding my big blind. I actually think BS Brawler's hand is pretty strong here to just be betting 480. It's either super strong or complete air. Now we know it's complete air. BS, if you're watching this video, we should talk. You know, I think we need to figure out, you know, what your bets are saying. I think if you're not understanding what your bets are saying, that's a problem. Now Bill's been very, very, very quiet, so I'm just going to give him the big blind. You know, he actually hasn't really been involved in a pot in so long that trying to steal his blind would almost be rude. It would almost be rude. Like, okay, you've been sitting there patiently. So if I do raise and you end up calling, I'm just obviously always giving you credit for a great hand. I don't think you're getting out of line. Warrior doesn't have the cards to call this. So BS's stack right now is a perfect shoving stack, and BS can probably be shoving 50% of his range here. Pretty much any ace he can be shoving. Any king queen, any king jack he can be shoving. And doing so profitably, because it's enough to where whoever makes the call is going to have to still have pretty strong holdings, like a pocket pair or ace jack or better, to be making an 1100 chip call pre-flop against an all-in. But we'll see how BS wants to play his small stack, because that's really been his strength thus far, is playing a small stack, and his shoving ranges have been pretty strong. He did have a pretty significant run of cards, we'll give him that. But so Bill raises here to 2.5x for the first time in like 15 hands. So if Tesla doesn't give him credit, then I don't know when you can give him credit. And I like Bill's table image here. You know, he's got the chips where he doesn't really need to be getting out of line. So I really do like his table image. I think everybody at the table knows that they don't want to get involved not only with the chip leader, but somebody who's playing the amount of hands that he's playing and playing them in the way that he's playing them. He's actually playing really well right now. I'm really liking his non-involvement in a lot of these riffraff hands that have been going around. And sometimes that just comes with not getting a run of cards that you want to play. But sometimes that's also making good folds. And that if there's something that I definitely am giving Bill a lot of credit for, it's making excellent, excellent folds. Ooh. Oh. That's just a bad beat. Damn. That's just a bad beat. I mean, you can't get mad at BS, right? You know, they flop top pair. You can't really get mad at him. I like this raise. I like this raise from Tesla. It looks strong. It looks like he's not trying to buy the pot here. He's definitely getting, you know, us to fold here in the small and big. So this raise has done its job. It's thinned out the herd, because if he just calls, I think BS calls. I think I'm in the hand with King Deuce. And now Tesla's playing against 4 opponents instead of just 2. And also, Tesla has control of the hand right now as well. So wouldn't be surprised to see a nice little 700 chip bet from Tesla. When Key 02 leads out at this pot, basically what he's saying is I can beat your overpair. And he can. He can beat your overpair. So you're looking for a 9 or a 6, and it's a straight, so we get to chop the pot up. So the message K002 was sending, you know, was pretty standard in poker when you have a pre-flop raiser and then you lead into a pre-flop raiser on a board like this. You're basically daring the overpairs to overplay their hand when you have flopped, you know, amazing hands like 2 pairs and straights and sets. I think you could probably make a lot more money by check raise shoving, because if Tesla's going to make his continuation bet, maybe he gets a call from you know, maybe Bill decides to call the continuation bet on some sort of draw, or maybe with just a single pair, and then KI is able to put his entire chip stack in the middle, knowing that it looks bad, it looks like a squeeze. He knows that if he's up against an overpair, Tesla's always calling. So I don't know if donking's the right move in that spot, because if Tesla is an amazing poker player, Tesla can get away from aces in some spots. I personally wouldn't be able to. I personally, like, if I have aces in that spot and Key, puts a half pot size bet out there, I don't think I'm ever folding aces in Tesla's spot, but I'd be interested to see which line works out better for more chips in the long run. I think you end up dragging extra chips here from Bill a lot of the time by check shoving. Wow, okay. A lot of chips in the middle here represents more than 50%, or 50% of what Ki has. He's got to fight for those chips. This is not a flop that hits Bill a lot of the time. Bill's got to call with ace high here. He's got to believe that Ki has nothing and maybe makes this call with ace queen, ace king. But Bill's not a speculative player, so if it doesn't fit, he's not going to risk all those chips. It's kind of an unfortunate run of cards for Bill. He was sitting with something like 10, 11,000 chips when we got here. Certainly the way six-handed play is going, he's ending up. I think I can raise. There's a lot of 2.5x raising going on. I'm still okay with the 3x raises. I'm actually even okay with 4x raises. But all of my raises have been 3x raises thus far. So if anybody is paying attention, then they're going to see that all of my raises are at the very least consistent. Now, if I'm up against a better ace, which it's very possible that I am up against a better ace, I should check. If I'm up against like a king jack, I think I have to bet just for transparency. And I think by betting 450, I get a lot of kings to continue, maybe some draws to continue. It does look like I want to call when I bet 450, so it does look a little stronger than, say, a 700 chip bet. I'm at a point in the tournament right now where I actually do want to get a little bit of action on flops. I actually do want to get a couple bad flop calls by just raising and making 3 times whatever the big blind is. Yeah, I'll win a couple chips every once in a while, but I think at this point in the tournament I need to win a substantial pot, and the only way for me to do that is to get one of my opponents to make a mistake by making a call on a flop that he probably shouldn't be making. So, No Limit Hold'em is one of those funny games where there's so many mistakes that you can make. So there's so many opportunities for you to say, maybe if I play my hand this way, my opponent will make a mistake. But sometimes you overthink it, and you end up slow playing a hand that you probably shouldn't be slow playing, and that ends up being a major mistake in and of itself. So you can really shoot yourself in the foot trying to get too tricky with just a single pair. So I think you're always continuation betting your ace there. Anyone who's making an argument that they should be checking their ace on an ace-king-6 board, in the short term against a specific player in a specific situation, maybe, but in the long term, I don't think ever slow playing your ace-10 there is a profitable move. I don't like this raise at all. It's not that I don't like it, it's going to work for KI, but I just don't like it because it's annoying. It's just annoying, so I guess I gotta fold. This is usually a tournament that takes a few hours. I wonder what it's going to be like with six-handed, if it's going to play a little bit faster or not. I also wonder if we get BS Brawler to maybe make a move here. Like, that would be the most entertaining thing, would there to be a raise and BS Brawler decides he wants to make a move. If BS Brawler raises the button, let's talk about this. Do I make more money by just calling? Can I drag Tesla into the hand? And I don't know that I want to go up against 2 opponents in this spot. I think with 2,700 chips out there representing 50% of my stack, I think it's enough for me to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to move all in. Tesla's raise here actually looks very strong. So I think I'm okay moving all in. Oh, wow. Who doesn't see it coming? Who doesn't see it coming? Who doesn't see it coming? I thought he was going to have it with the flush draw. Oh, man. GG. Always a sweat. Wow. You know, again, there's an argument to be made for me just calling pre-flop and maybe sucking in a hand like tens. You know, maybe if I just make a pre-flop call, I get tens to call. But I'm never folding this hand. There's just too much money in the middle. And when I get in a spot where I'm never folding the hand, the pot was big enough to where I can just go heads up against one player and, you know, be totally fine winning the 2,700 chips that were already in the middle. So again, you know, we end up waking with a great hand like aces. It doesn't take a good poker player to get aces and go all in, right? It's not like there was a lot of skill involved in that hand. So it's hands like this you really can't forget about. Like, you have to remember there are hands where you just get in lucky spots where you get somebody 3-bets you when you have aces pre-flop and you have yet to act. So it was just a really lucky spot for me to be in. Of course, even luckier that I'm up against an ace-9, so I have the guy completely crushed, just the hearts. He flopped the absolute best flop he could have flopped, and the run of cards didn't go his way. Very easily could have caught up with a heart and would have put me on extra super tilt. You know what? That's interesting. I wonder how this video would have gone, right? If I lose to the heart there, like, and I'm sitting with 2,500 chips left. Like, I wonder how this video probably wouldn't have lasted a lot longer. I'll tell you that. Like, I have a little bit of a tilt issue. Not that you're gonna hear, not that you're gonna, you know, it's not like I get up and smash shit. I was watching a video that you guys should probably watch on YouTube called 2 months, 2 million. Have you guys seen this video before? I just saw it for the first time, and I binge watched it, right? I think it was like 7 or 8 episodes, 30 minutes an episode or something along those lines. And I binge watched 2 months, 2 million on YouTube. I think it was like 4 hours of straight poker, but I was thoroughly entertained watching it. It's something I definitely recommend that you watch. If not for anything else, it's just a bunch of dorky kids trying to win $2 million in Vegas. Some of the dorky things that they do. What do I want to do here? I think I can bet 450, and maybe Warger calls with a flush draw. This board right here is in my range in the big blind so much more often than Warger's range. You know, Warger voluntarily put money into this pot, Kay voluntarily put money into this pot, and you're very rarely voluntarily putting money into a pot when hitting a board that is 7-6-3 deuce. Like what hands are you actually putting money into the pot with where this is hitting your range? Versus when I'm in the big blind, this is hitting my range so much more often. So I think just on that alone, and you know, not for nothing, I did have a I did have a pair, but it was probably just a really weak spot. Warger's going to defend. I'm ready for Warger to defend. Maybe we get a little bit of credit because we are showing up with good hands when we are showing. But again, yeah, I was watching the show 2 months, 2 million with these kids, and then I watched a show that was cast in a different language called Nosebleed. It's another video that you can watch on YouTube. It's Alexon Moon, who is a Nosebleed cash game player who plays, I guess, in Germany or Russia or something like that, and it's his quest to try and win a World Series of Poker bracelet. And it's not what we're all trying to do. Like, I think they touch on a lot of really cool stuff in the video Nosebleed, of a player who already has a shit ton of money, right? Like, already has, you know, is playing at the highest stakes, is playing against the top competition, and you know, is just playing in the World Series of Poker because they want the bracelet. Like, what would a World Series of Poker bracelet mean to just you? you know, in general. I mean, if you really sit back and think about what a World Series of Poker bracelet would do for you, I mean, would your friends respect you? I guess your poker player friends would give you a lot of props, a lot of respect. But I think most of us are just trying to get to that next level of poker, you know, to be playing 5-10 games regularly, to be playing 10-20 games, cash games comfortably, to be able to, you know, fly around to different parts of the country, to fly around to different parts of the world, you know, really participate in the lifestyle that is a poker player's dream lifestyle, right? I mean, isn't that what we're all kind of in the back of our minds kind of hoping maybe happens? You know, maybe you're playing a $30 tournament, or maybe you're playing a $130 tournament or a $1,030 tournament. You know, we're all just trying to, you know, get closer to what that dream is. So hopefully when you're watching this video, you know, you're doing so you know, with that dream in the back of your mind, where you just know you want to be watching videos like this just to get different perspectives and get better at the game. We flop nothing here, so I think it's an easy check fold. I probably could have just folded to Tesla's raise from the small blind, or from the, well, Tesla's in the small blind, so did I just call out of the big blind? You know, I said I wasn't going to do that, and I did it, and it got me nowhere. Nice hand, KI. Very nice hand. I like the 3-6 suited call there. I like it a lot. I think we get a lot of credit when we make a raise here, because we're not really raising Bill light a lot. I think he's folding a lot of the time. So I'm still not limping with my kings ever, but I do think he's folding a lot of the time. Pretty wet board here, so I think I'm in check call. I think I'm in check call mode here. I think he checks back. You know, what is he saying with this hand? You know, is he saying that he already has... And what am I saying by just calling? Like, if I just call this, am I saying that I have a jack? Like, what are good turns for me? Like, I guess, does it make sense for me to raise here with just a pair? Oh man, this is such a weird spot. I think he checks back, obviously. Oh my god. Come on. You know, here's my theory on this, right? Bill sees the ace comes out, thinks I'm calling him down with an ace, already knows he can beat an ace, right? So he's able to make an overbet shove here, thinking that I'm not good enough to fold an ace even if I hit the ace. I think that's Bill's logic here, is I can beat an ace. So if this person was, you know, basically raising pre-flop with an ace, decides he's just going to call, he sees the ace pops off, he says, you know, if my opponent has an ace and I go all in, they're going to make a bad call here with just an ace. So I do think Bill is not bluffing in this spot. I think he has a pretty good hand. I'm just going to smile at him. I do think Bill here shows up with two pair a lot of the time. Is that a yes? He says. I don't know, Bill. I don't know. I'll tell you to watch the stream. I think pocket threes is a raise. I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of credit raising two hands in a row here, but I do like my 3x raises to be a little bit harder to call than 2.5x or 2x raises. So, you know, yeah, I don't think I can call this bet. You know, I think it's just a good bet. I think Tesla's bet is just so good most of the time because, you know, he's just never given me credit for having a good hand, so. Nice hand. Nice hand, Tesla. I like Tesla's bet here. I like Tesla's all-in bet. You know, even if he has ace-king, I still like it because he's really putting me to the test here. So I really like that all-in bet here from the big blind. I think if I have 10s, I might call. But 3s is just not a call. It looks like I flopped a little bit of equity on this hand, but I really haven't. I'm still 3 to a straight and nothing to a flush. Actually, I thought it was 3 to a straight. I just needed a jack for a straight. When Tesla leads out and bets 500 here on such a wet board, I have to give him credit for better than a 10. I just do. I just do. I'm playing a little nitty right now, but you know, I'm a little bit on a downswing with my chip stack. And I would like to remind you guys that the blinds are still only 100, 200, so there's more work to be done here. It's definitely a lot more work to be done, and I can save my chips for a rainy day. I have 2 clubs here. It's kind of unfortunate because I was thinking about calling that 400 bet, but again, I don't really have to get out of line right this second, especially with the amount of chips my opponents have. It's not like I'm, you know, such a super short stack where my opponents aren't going to be able to, like, any time I get all my chips in the middle, it's going to be a significant it's going to be a significant portion of my opponent's chip stack. So pretty much the best flop I could have hoped for. I'm always continuation betting. When Warger makes this min bet, I think I'm just calling. Warger makes another 400 chip bet. Why is she doing this? I mean, I'm always raising, right? Like, there's never a time where I'm not raising. I maybe could have raised a little bit more on the river. I don't know if I was afraid of a higher flush. I guess there's a small percentage of the time where my opponent does have a higher flush than me, is just walking the dog. But I made my plays based on the notes that I knew about Warger, and I knew Warger was going to be firing 3 small bullets. Let me just show you the notes that I have on Warger. We'll lead out on all flops no matter who the pre-flop raiser is. That was me. I was a pre-flop raiser, and Warger still led out on the flop. Provided she hit top pair or something close, we'll value bet rivers small. I think the best approach is to raise big when you have a big hand and make her make decisions, which is essentially exactly how I played the hand. She also called a bet on the river with 4 diamonds when she didn't have one. She sticks to her decision to be in check call mode. So don't bluff this one, but when you have nuts, you know, shove the river, you'll probably get called. So I played the hand knowing exactly how my opponent was going to be playing her cards, because Warger, although she is a successful poker player within the structure of this tournament, has not made any adjustments as to what her betting style is, and has subscribed to a betting style that is predictable and therefore exploitable by better players. Not to say that I'm exactly a better player than Warger, but right then and there I was able to show that I have the ability to make the adjustments necessary in order to beat Warger at her own game. I don't think I'm going to overplay queens here, but I don't think I'm just going to flat be folding queens if I do get re-raised all in. I also raised Tesla's big blind in the last round, so by me doing it again, it kind of shows Tesla that, you know, just because you re-raise me all in doesn't mean I'm going to be afraid to re-raise your big blind the very next time. And And you may think that doesn't matter, but it does matter to some people. Some people, when they move all in, they get scared raising that blind again. So I don't think. I think it helps that I have queens. I think when you have a hand like queens, it's easy to grow balls when you have pocket queens, right? So it's easy to be playing hands like, oh, of course I'm snap calling you if you make any bet because I have an awesome pair. When Warder makes this bet, I just don't have any equity in the hand where I can even semi-bluff. Like, I'd love to semi-bluff here, but I just can't. So Warder's been getting a lot more active, and me being in the small blind, I'm not going to be worried about Warder getting active because I know that anytime Warder's in the big blind, I'm going to have the button. So I'm definitely in an advantageous spot. Oh man, I love this bet so much. So much I love this bet, Bill. Come on, I love this bet so much. You know it's getting through all the time. I absolutely... Bill, if you were around, I'd be high-fiving you. I'd be doing shots of Jameson with you. I'd be saying, this is perfect. Like, this is such a great bet. You know, your opponents are just never calling you because they never have kings or aces. So you're making 1,000 chips and simply, you know, just looks like you're spazzing out. And maybe the next time you do end up shoving all in, maybe somebody decides to look you up. I also think that by you moving all in, when I make this raise, that it gets through. I'm definitely going to be making a raise here when it folds to me, and it will get through. Raising to 400, what am I going to do? What is Tesla saying? We all have sort of a weird chip table where nobody is an immediate 10 or 20 big blind stack, right? So we're at a 5-handed table where everybody's sitting with roughly 35, 40 bigs. Actually, no, I lied. Warder does have 20 bigs, but... So maybe Warder's the one to pick on? I don't know. We have to figure out a way to pick on a short stack collectively. Although, even Warder sitting with 20 big blinds, it's not short enough a stack. This is a significantly weird raise out of position here. I think Bill has to have it a lot of the time to be making that bet out of position with Tesla behind him making a severely strong bet. Maybe Bill has a read. You know, maybe Bill has a read on Tesla and is noticing a betting pattern tell on Tesla when Tesla's making some strong bets. So let's take a look at this hand, right? So Tesla makes the min raise pre-flop. Obviously, you know, we fold our king 7. We're probably going to raise it up anyway. And this is another reason why I don't like raising just to 2x, because your small blind and your big blind are so light when they're calling you. Ace 6 I think is a raise. Good news. So when you are continuation betting for 3/4 pot, 900 into 1300, it just looks so strong because you've already made the min raise pre-flop. It looks like you wanted the call. So for Bill to be making this raise and making it relatively callable, he's essentially saying, you know, I can beat your overpair. Yeah, I think I'm raising. I'm raising enough to where he's really got a decision that he's got to make, and if he has something like ace queen, I'm still shoving. Yeah. So, wow. Wow. So if you're watching that, don't try that at home, kids. That is a next level stunt. That is a stunt that I don't always recommend to the faint of heart. Oh man. So we knew where our opponent was. We knew what his calling range was. When the board comes queen high, I think any other queen high board I can get away from. But when I do flop an open-ended straight draw, and I've already taken control of the pot, And I think there's a small possibility my opponent might have 2 jacks or 2 nines and just decide that the board is not what they want to see and maybe just lets go of the hand. I think it is a plus EV play to shove that flop. With my opponent's exact hand of ace queen, they're never letting go of the hand. They flop the exact flop that they wanted to see, and they're going to make me prove that I have kings or aces in that spot. So I did get obviously super lucky. My outs were any ace, any king, yeah, any ace, any king, or any 9. So I did have what's known as a semi-bluff, and it just works out that I hit my cards. So we're running pretty good here. If you're watching this video, I am sorry that's the way the hand works out. Who did I knock out? KI? I'm sorry, KI. You know what? I mean, I tried to give you my chips. I did. I tried as hard as I could to give you my chips, and I just couldn't. Couldn't give you my chips. We're at a new table here, right? Yeah. So we got some players that we are very familiar with at this table. When Tony is min betting here, I think I can call. Just to let him know that I'm going to be calling him. I'd like to know what his continuation bet size is. You know, if his continuation bet size is something like 500 in this spot, I know I can be looking him up pretty light, that he's going to be making half pot size bets. When his continuation bets are nice and strong, like 800-900, I know that I can be just folding a lot of my big blind defense. You know, I've already told you that I'm not going to just be just flat calling and defending when the button min raises my big blind. However, when you move to a new table, I don't know that with zero information on how my opponents are playing that it's profitable for me to be you know, re-raising on the first hand that I'm at the table. Some players are very comfortable re-raising first hand, right? Like I've seen a lot of players get moved in a live tournament, they get moved to the next table and they just snap re-raise whoever makes a bet, especially deep in a tournament like this. I've seen them do that. So, but the notes that I have on Tony is bet sizing is good, but calling pre-flop raises with 7-8 off. Granted, this is the notes that I have on Tony are in a 9-handed tournament, so when he's calling hands with 7-8 off, it's significantly less profitable to be doing that in a 9-handed game versus a 6-handed game. But I do have a note that he doesn't respect me, and he will call me with pretty much anything. So that's good to know. Maybe Tony has a note on me that I am super loose aggressive, and I shouldn't. He shouldn't respect my raises. I think in spots like this, knowing that I'm probably going to get a call from Tony, I can be making a raise and playing Tony in position, and if I do hit flops, I can be betting against a lot of his range very profitably, knowing that he's going to be calling me late. So I will be attacking Tony's big blinds, and I would expect him to attack me when I'm in the big blind. So all that said, we're here to play poker, right? We're here to not fold our way into oblivion. I am going to run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Tell me if anything good happens. Alright. What'd I miss? What I miss? Inner Tony sees that I'm sitting out, wants to steal my big blind, and it's going to work, but whew, I am out of shape. I just ran up the stairs, so if I sound out of breath, it's because I am. So we're down to 2 tables here. Let's just take a look at the lobby. We have Dirk Gently One from Canada, who is sitting at the top of the leaderboard here. Top 2 is the next chip leader. He's sitting directly to my right. The next chip leader after me is Bill here, so we do have a lot of chips at this table. DeCarlo is going to be a tough out. Chaos Kid's going to be a very tough out. Top 2 with a lot of chips. Top 2, we're going to have to figure this player out. When I first started playing Top 2, this is in reference to this player, Top 2 0320. When I first started playing this player, I almost gave this player very little credit for understanding how to play the game, but I followed the results, and Top 2 has a pretty decent results in this tournament. So he's doing something right. So I want to find out exactly what style of a player Top 2 is, because seeing as how DeCarlo's on my immediate left, and we already have a very good beat on what DeCarlo is as a player, and we don't know what like these are the 2 players that we're going to be getting involved with the most, seeing as how they're closest to us. So I really, having this X factor here and not knowing anything about this player, not having any notes on this player, I'm a little nervous if I'm going to get involved in a pot with Top 2, and I want to get a little bit, get to know a little bit more about what this player is willing to call with. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not playing the 6-handed tournament the way that maybe a lot of you guys are comfortable playing 6-handed tournaments, and I think a lot of that has to do with the blinds still being 15-minute blinds. When you're playing a lot of tournaments online, it's very rare that you get a tournament that has 15-minute blinds. So when you're dealing with, 125, 250 big blinds, when the blinds are, 125, 250, and the blinds are moving up at a rapid pace, you're going to see a lot more players playing their hands a lot more aggressively. But even 250 chips, if it goes around 2 or 3 times against me, it still leaves me in a position of strength. So I don't necessarily think... Wow, Inner Tony really overplayed his 8s there. That's just a huge... I mean, you know what? Maybe Inner Tony's not as tough and out as I thought. And Cascade makes a really, really, really good call here on that board. Let's take a look at the way this hand plays out, just so that we can get an understanding. So Inner Tony decides with pocket 8s he's going to be min-raising, which is fine. I don't mind the min-raise. I'm sort of drifting away from min-raises at this point in my game as much as I possibly can. Chaos Kid decides to defend out of the big blind with Queen 9. Flops top pair and checks it. Inner Tony makes a continuation bet, which I think is 100% fair to make. Let's just take a look real quick. So Chaos Kid is min-raising with his top pairs, and I kind of knew this about him. When he does have something, he's willing to check min-raise you. Chaos Kid does a lot of check min-raising, and when he does check min-raising, he has top pair better. I'm going to take that note. I'm absolutely going to be taking that note on Chaos Kid, and I'm just going to leave a note saying, when you get check min-raised by Chaos Kid, he is holding at least top pair or better. I mean, this guy Inner Tony is just going bananas. He's just going fucking nuts. There's no other way to put it. Like, he's just decided that he's just going to bomb the next 3 pots after losing such a shitty... I mean, he played his hand pretty poorly. Although it's very difficult to fold to just a min-raise. I don't like this call by King 10, but I think he knew that Inner Tony was just going to be a huge thorn in his side the entire time. So when Tony shoves here, he could very well be shoving late. I really don't like this call, Chaos Kid. I think you can save your chips, live to fight another day. But I could see how you would end up making that call knowing that Tony has just been spazzing. He's just spazzing. I mean, you have enough chips to still be in the lead after doubling up Tony. This raise from top 2 accomplishes so little. Like, it just accomplishes so little. Normal circumstances, I am calling all day, every day. But the problem that I have is Chaos Kid is upset. Tony is an X factor, and I'm playing both of those players out of position. So I know I'm getting a call from each one of them, and I just didn't want to get involved in a hand with King 9, which so often is dominated. You know, I'd actually much rather get involved in a hand with like 6-7, you know, or even 3-6 suited, than get involved with King 9, where, you know, 3 big stacks are basically fucking around with each other. So the math said I should have called there, but it was just too weird a spot. The nature of Tony's play right now and top 2, his betting lines are sort of really strange at this point, and we're going to review top 2's raise if we get a chance to see top 2's hand get shown down. Like, I really, really wanted Chaos Kid to call because I really want to know what top 2 is making this raise out of the small blind with. And we're going to have to pay for this information eventually, so. Yeah, so Chaos Kid is just hemorrhaging chips. Tony's willing to get involved in pots with him. I mean, this is a classic spot where you just kind of sit back and watch the show, right? When Chaos Kid here checks twice, I don't think he's slow playing a monster. I think he genuinely doesn't have anything. You know, maybe he has a hand like Ace Queen, or I just don't think he has anything. And somehow Chaos Kid was able to make the right call with Ace High, and, you know, Tony gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar again. Tony's going to, you know, just be a thorn in Chaos Kid's side for the rest of this tournament. And I think Chaos Kid went for the knockout punch. It didn't work out, but he has such a good read on him and understands how to get Tony's chips back. So congratulations, Chaos Kid. You know, even though you lost some chips to Tony, you were able to make some good calls, get some chips back. I mean, if you're watching this tournament, right, if you're watching the way people are playing, there's some pretty good play. There's some pretty good game being had here. There's also some next level thinking on a 6-handed table where you can start to make calls with Ace High in spots where you probably couldn't make calls with Ace High when you're playing against 9 opponents. And I've really tightened up my game just because the action at this table is, I don't see anybody who is ready to start making folds. I just don't. I don't see anybody at the table who's ready to start making folds. So I'm going to make sure I have it when I get involved. Ouch. Ouch. Alright, we saw Bill take a very similar line like this, where he bombs, shoves river. He played a very similar line against us. Basically saying if you have one pair, if you rewind this video and you take a look at a hand where I had folded a hand like pocket kings to a very similar line that Bill is making right here, where he's betting half pot and then bombing the turn. I think I'm folding. I'm going to get involved with you right now, Tony. Hang on. I just want to see what he bet on the turn. Yeah, so he makes a half pot size bet, and you know, top 2 is literally just walking the dog here. He's hit his flush. You know, it's very possible he could have his flush beat, so he's just calling here. And when Bill decides he's going to put the rest of his chips in, he's basically saying I can beat an ace, which he can. And I don't really like the bet. You know, Tony's here spazzing out. There's some serious action at this table, huh? Right? I mean, if Tony's willing to keep playing like this, he's going to get somebody to make a mistake. You know, I'm going to really have to practice some patience against Tony making those types of moves. Now, if top 2 raises here, Chaos Kid's good enough to defend. He'll defend with, like, King 10. I'm not going to be playing like a nit bitch. I am going to be raising my buttons pretty wide. I want to get involved in a pot with Tony, and I wonder if I raise it. I wonder, like, do you think it's better to just flat call here? I think it's better to just flat call here, because maybe Tony spazzes. As it turns out, we can get away from this hand if we want to. I think I should be betting this for straight value. Alright. Well, you know what? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can peel a potato, and I was thinking actually that there is a small possibility that Inner Tony would spaz out after seeing 4 limbs and just decide it was a good time to steal. A small possibility that I thought that's what was going to happen. And maybe I make more money by raising pre-flop, but then if I raise pre-flop and I do end up getting a call and I see the ace out there, I think it's highly unlikely that I end up winning that hand, just because I'm always putting my opponent on at least an ace when they're calling at this stage in the game when I'm raising. I just either calling with a pocket pair or they're calling with an ace. Either way, I don't like to see the ace out there when I have an under pair, to any ace tens, ace jacks, ace queens that are calling my raises. So set of threes is going to hold here a lot of the time. Yep, it's going to hold here pretty much all the time. Actually, the 8 was a pretty good turn card for Chaos Kid, but it just doesn't work. DiCarlo is always going to be getting his chips in good. I think we know that about DiCarlo. I think I said that in the last video. He's never getting his chips in bad. So, I don't think Chaos Kid should be making that call knowing that. You know what sucks? We just saw a set of threes, so, we're just never, like, I already know we're never hitting a set of threes. So, so I'm just like, that's just the way PokerStars works. I mean, if you've ever seen PokerStars software, like say you have like Jack 10, right? Well, if the previous flop came out like Jack 10 10 or 10 10 4 or Jack 10 7, and you get Jack 10 the next hand, it's so highly unlikely in my superstitious opinion that playing Jack 10 the next hand is going to hit a flop again. Just the randomization of cards to see a very similar flop on the very next hand. I will make a superstitious fold when I've seen a hand like that, and I've already seen a set of threes flop on the last hand, and you get pocket threes the next hand. I will make superstitious folds knowing that it's just so highly unlikely to see 2 sets of threes hit on 2 consecutive flops. So who at the table is really playing bad, right? Like, who are we going to get our chips from? Chaos Kid? Maybe. Chaos Kid's getting a little grumpy when he hits top pair. He doesn't want to fold it. So maybe Chaos Kid's going to give us some chips. Inner Tony? Absolutely. He's going to give us some chips. DiCarlo's never giving us chips, right? I'm going to have to set over set DiCarlo. I'm going to have to really put a bad beat on DiCarlo to get his chips. Top 2, we may be able to get some chips from him, but the guy has all the chips in the tournament right now. So, like, do I really want to get involved with this player right this second? I don't. I think I'll wait till the final table to get involved with top 2 unless I absolutely have to. Like, running a bluff on top 2 at this point in the game is probably a terrible idea. He just showed that he's willing to call on his flush draws on flops. He called a pretty substantial bet on a flop with an 8 high flush draw. So he's going to be continuing on a lot of hands, and I just don't think it's a good person to try and bluff. So people we can bluff at this table: DiCarlo, possibly Chaos Kid. Rarely Intertony are we bluffing. Rarely. And top two, we just don't want to try. So 10 players left. We are sitting in third place. It looks like Tuna's still in the tournament. Hey Tuna, how you doing? You know, average chip stack right now is about 12.5, but you know, as long as you have close to average, you're really not in bad shape. Stony Horse here with 2,000 chips with the blinds going up to 200, 400 is going to need to be making a move here. Warger, I've seen Warger with a short stack get people to make some pretty shitty mistakes because Warger's bet sizing is super small pretty much all the time. So, even though she has a small chip stack, she's very rarely risking a large percentage of her chips, and she's able to get away from some hands. So, this is a dangerous chip stack for Warger to have. Tony's been raising pretty much 100% of the time. I think in this spot, I think he kind of wants the call when he just min raises in that spot. So Jack 5 not good enough for me. I will be picking a spot where I want to re-raise him, but I want to pick a spot because I know that when I re-raise him, he's very likely to be calling my re-raise. I don't have a really good reason for it, but he's been super splashy and. I think picking on DeCarlo's big blind is just going to be super profitable for me all day long. Like, even though I'm going to be losing my big blind to Intertony a lot, I think I can come back and attack DeCarlo's big blind most of the time, and I'm not losing a whole lot of chips by letting Tony pick on me. It's really hard for me to get a read on this Tony character right now because his bet sizes are changing. From big to medium to min raising, and I'm having a lot of trouble putting a read on where his starting range is. Because last time he made a min raise, he did it with pocket eights. So, in this exact position, he did it with pocket eights. And who knows, he may want to continue just because he's been battling with Chaos Kid the entire time. Probably a great flop for Chaos Kid. Yeah. Oh, wow. I don't know, Chaos Kid. Oh, no way. Wow. So Chaos Kid really, really just overplays his small pair. I mean, his ace with a small kicker, I apologize, and gets rewarded. And Intertony, makes a shitty raise pre-flop. Yeah, so Intertony's 10% to win the hand, 0% to win the hand. So that's the end of Tony. So Chaos Kid actually, was really showing a lot of balls here by making the bets that he made. But I think he was doing so because he knew that Tony was just going to be a thorn in his side for the entire tournament. Like, I don't know if I'm really upset with the way he played those hands. I also don't think that's characteristic of the way Chaos Kid normally plays. I don't know if I want to just check here. I think if I'm up against a king, I'm getting raised, insta-raised. So what am I getting called with, right? Like, I'm getting called with pretty much. Are kings calling me? Yeah, kings are calling me. Are flush draws calling me? I think flush draws are calling me a lot. Yeah, alright, so kings are calling me. But I do think that a 7's calling me a lot, and a 9's also calling me a lot, and my 9 really wasn't strong, and if he does have a 7, I'm beat, so I don't like firing a third bullet there on the river. Just because if I am up against a flush draw, Flush draw is probably going to be bluffing a lot of rivers, and I can just be making calls there profitably. This is a tempting flop. I don't think I want to check it. I don't think I want to check this flop. Chaos Kid has shown he's willing to call me down a lot. I probably should have fired a second barrel. I think I can just bet 900 here, and I can get a lot of ace highs to fold. Yeah, I think if I'm up against just a single heart draw, by me checking and him checking behind, he's basically saying that he's not protecting his hand. You know, for him to see that queen come out there and for him not to bet, you know, I'm really not up against just a pair, because a pair is usually betting to protect. So by him checking behind, he's saying that he is calling you with a heart. And obviously the only way I'm winning this hand, like the only way I can ever win this hand on the river is to make a bet, but I have to make it believable, right? So I made a bet out on the flop, right? Like, you know, last time I took this line where I let out against him, I ended up showing up with middle pair. You know, I just had a line where I had let out and showed up with middle pair. The hand previous to this, I did the exact same thing. I bet 600 in the exact same spot on a scary board, on a king high board, and I got flat called. I slowed down knowing that Chaos Kid may have a king when he calls me, so when he checks, he's not protecting. And my story, in order to complete the story that I'm telling, it's extremely likely that I have a 6 here, and so my bet needs to look big enough for him to be folding a lot of his range, like getting ace highs to fold, but small enough to where it doesn't look like I'm trying to blow him off his hand, because a player like Chaos Kid is very likely to just call. He's very likely to just call with ace high just to look you up. Probably a really terrible flop for him, but it's very difficult for me to represent a hand here. So I think I'm just in check fold mode. I think by calling with Jack 8, I'm really looking to just see a flop that I like and continue on any draw. Chaos Kid's going to make a very profitable half pot size bet, and I have to fold. You know, even king queens and ace tens, I still have to fold a lot of the time. So it's just not a good flop for me to try and represent anything. This is where the game kind of gets kind of interesting, because we do have a ton of chips here between Chaos Kid, top 2, myself, and we're playing four-handed, so it's going to get creative. I think it's going to be a very interesting part of the video. So stay tuned for some good plays. DeCarlo, I wonder if DeCarlo opens up his game once we get to four-handed. I'd be interested to see how he plays it. Yeah, DeCarlo, you know, is just basically a rock. He's never getting out of line. I don't expect him to be betting on draws. I expect him to be betting when he has a hand. I hate this bet, though, DeCarlo. I mean, I just hate it. Like, what are you doing? Ace highs are always continuing. Maybe it gets through. You know, maybe DeCarlo knows something about his table image that I just don't know, and maybe he's able to just min bet there and just get it to go through. 7-4 off. Probably should raise, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give Chaos Kid, you know, just a little bit of credit, and I'm going to let him know, look, I'm going to be raising your button, but not all the time. If Chaos Kid starts to think, Chaos Kid is a player that will adjust. So if Chaos Kid starts to see that I'm raising his button 100% of the time, he's going to start to 3-bet. And I don't want to start introducing 3-bets just yet to the table. The first person to make a successful 3-bet at this table, pre-flop, like whoever makes the button raise, and once the big blind makes a successful 3-bet, it's going to tip the other players off that 3-betting can be profitable. So if a successful 3-bet gets made by Chaos Kid because I'm raising light with a hand like 7-4, and Chaos Kid wants to make it, you know, 2400 pre-flop, and I end up folding, I don't want to introduce that as an option for, say, top 2. DeCarlo, maybe he's never 3-betting me light. Maybe I'm just being irrational about my fear of being 3-bet with a 7-4. but I do want to be prepared for 3-betting to happen. So Chaos Kid's probably the most likely to be 3-betting me. This is a hand that I can be 3-betting back, although it doesn't really play well post-flop. I mean, normally I'm raising, but I just have 0 equity in the hand. I mean, if I'm heads up against top 2 here, I'm raising. With Chaos Kid behind me, just limping pre-flop, I don't think I want to raise. I think I'm going to let Chaos Kid do the raising for me. Chaos Kid's raise to 800 is strange. I mean, these are really weak bets here. And to get this guy to be folding, I mean, top 2's really got to have a feeling that he is so far behind with his queen there. I actually don't like top 2's fold here. But what do we know about top 2 now? Like, you know, we'll call pre-flop raises with queen high four-handed and flop a queen high and fold and lead out by min betting to the raiser. Calls small. Re-raise on flop and check folds top pair to a 40% bet on turn. There's a lot of people that will just min raise in this spot. I like my hand, so I'm just not going to min raise it. Cascade's going to maybe lead out in some spots like this. Straight value, 1,000. I don't think he can continue very often. I wouldn't be surprised if I get check raised, because Chaos Kid can get aggressive, and now that he has chips, he's creative. But I'm just not going to be min raising. You know, I just don't think I'm going to be min raising. Because I'm playing a little bit tighter four-handed, and I'm not, you know, raising as aggressively as I probably should be four-handed. I think by raising to 3x instead of 2x when I do get my calls, I'm getting called by hands that are a little bit better, and I'm also winning on continuation bets a little bit better because my continuation bets get to be for more money, and I also am winning another big bet. So unless I'm in a spot where I feel like players are doing a lot of 3-betting, I think I can be raising 3x and be fine with it. Again, a hand that is so marginal where I do want to be, I don't want to introduce the big blind 3-bet to this table as a viable option. I just don't want to introduce that as a viable option just yet. I don't know if I'm going to play against a raise. I think I get lucky to get a walk here. Maybe not lucky, maybe I'm up against 3-6, you know, and maybe he continues in certain spots, but I don't think I have a lot of experience playing four-handed and talking at the same time. So if some of the things that I'm saying are contradictory, or I'm saying one thing and doing another thing, or maybe not making the plays that you might be making at home, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about some of the plays that I'm making and or not making. But if you take a look at the cards that I'm choosing to get involved with, you'll notice that they are medium strength hands. I'm really not getting out of line with bad strength hands. Any ace on the button is a raise. You know, obviously I just raised before. Am I 3-betting? I think 3-betting from the button is probably a good move if top 2 does raise. think I'm going to make it 950. I think top two's calling all day. If Cascade calls, maybe he's calling something with like King Queen. I think I'm putting him on like exactly King Queen King Jack as his raise to just be calling these raises. Top two is probably calling. If this raise gets through, I'm risking 650 to win 1800, or 950 to win 1800. So, yeah, I don't think I'm ever folding. If I snap call, such a weird raise. I'm never folding. Like, I think folding's just wrong. So it's either call or raise. What do I want to do here? Do I want to try and represent a king? Like, if he makes a little tiny bet, if he bets like 800 here, what am I to do? Alright. Yeah, when he's making that raise pre-flop, you know, I guess maybe it's designed to get me to slow down, but that very well could have just been such a terrible flop for him if he has pocket nines or eights. So, looks like we are at a final table here. Not bad. We have made the final table. We have Dirk Gently at the table. We have a note on Dirk Gently. Let's read the note that we have on Dirk. Fired 2 bullets at me with ace high on a paired board. Both were quicker bets, around 66% pot. I called him with 1 pair and won. So Dirk is a 2/3 pot better when he's snap betting and betting around 66%. I can try and look him up. Tuna at the table. I think we all know that this is his tournament. So Ugly Tuna sitting here with a very nice stack. The guy knows how to play poker, knows how to play all different types of poker. So it doesn't surprise me that he's made the final table. DeCarlo makes a ton of final tables, essentially by just having enough chips to make the final tables. This is a great spot for me to be set mining. If I end up calling 800 here to win, oh man, this is so good. I think I'm always just shoving my pair here and saying, look, if you have me beat, then good for you. You know, maybe Tuna calls me with ace queen because he's watched my videos, but I actually think I have pretty good equity in this spot. I don't know what I want to do if I get called and I lose. Oh, how terrible would it be? So we pick up a pretty substantial pot there. I told him I had ace K, but he's probably going to see this video later and see that I'm not telling the truth. So, Tuna, I'm sorry for lying to you during the tournament. I am sorry for lying to you during the tournament. I'm sure you're going to see that I had pocket fours, and you probably should have made the call. When he makes the call here, just calling Dirk Gently's raise with tens and still people to act, and he just calls 1,000. He might have a tell on Dirk. Maybe Dirk hasn't been raising light. You know, like maybe Dirk is actually, you know, raising with good hands, so maybe that's why he felt like he needed to call. instead of make a raise, because six-handed pocket tens, if he's telling the truth, and he has pocket tens, he needs to be re-raising a lot. Dirk Gently looks like he's ready to introduce the 4-bet. And it's two big stacks going after 7,700 in the middle. Very wet flop here. Dirk's got to make a continuation bet here of at least 5,000. Since he doesn't, it leaves the door open for top two to make a bet. Dirk's going to fold a lot of the time. When Dirk doesn't continue bet there, he's basically giving up on the pot. I don't know what Dirk's range is there to be 3-betting pre-flop and folding to a jack-high board. I don't know what his range is there. It's very fishy. Are we still recording? That's a good question. Last time at this exact time, I asked myself the exact same question, are we still recording? At 10 minutes after I asked myself that, I got ace-king and shoved it all in. And so this tournament, I will absolutely, positively not be losing with ace-king. Like, no matter what happens, the last two videos, ace-king was the hand that I went out on. And I have decided right now, ace-king is not the hand I'm going to lose on. I don't care if I have to fold it pre-flop. I am not going to lose with ace-king. Blinds, in relationship to the stack sizes, are still pretty good. 200, 400, I have about 20K in chips. So what's that, 50 big blinds right now? Almost 50 big blinds. So I'm feeling pretty good about my stack size right now. You know, pretty much everybody here has right around 20K with two players sitting at around 26, 27K. And DeCarlo's odd man out with only 5,400. But DeCarlo's never making any mistakes here. DeCarlo's willing to fold himself into oblivion. And, you know, hopefully when he gets down to, you know, 4,000 chips is going to end up, you know, making an overbet shove. And someone like Dirk Gently is going to pay him off with an ace-10. And DeCarlo's going to double up. I do think DeCarlo has enough chips here to get somebody to make a light call and double him up. And I think the person who's going to be doubling him up is either Dirk or top two. Tuna's too good or has a good enough read on DeCarlo not to be doubling him up late. Chaos Kid's been to this rodeo a few times, so I don't think he's going to be doubling up late, although he did try and double up a player sitting in this seat pretty late before, so Chaos Kid will surprise me with some of the plays that he makes. But then again, maybe I'll be the one to double up DeCarlo. This is a very tricky hand to play when you have 50 bigs. I'm not going to be going broke on this hand. If Tuna makes a raise and I raise him, I think I'm in check call mode. I have to put Tuna on exactly an ace here. When he checks behind, if I get min raised here, I'll be very surprised. Yeah, I kind of knew I was going to get min raised. I think Tuna has an ace and is smart enough to check down his ace. I'm actually putting Tuna on exactly an ace, and I don't know if I'm going to fold to a bet. He may just check an ace back because he thinks I bet on the 9 and then the second 9 comes off. So he may decide that he's going to check his ace back. Yeah, that's exactly the way it works out. So this hand could have gotten really out of hand here, you know, because if I do yeah, you know what? Tuna just has such a good beat on me. He kind of knows how I'm playing, and it's very likely it's very likely that Tuna is in a spot where he sees that I bet the 9, and that 9 is the only card that's going to slow him down. Because when the 9 does pop off, and I bet it, and I end up calling, by me calling his min raise, I'm never calling his min raise with just light. Like, I'm never calling his min raise with just air. So that 9 is the only card in the deck that would have slowed Tuna down. Any other card in the deck, Tuna is value betting his ace queen there. So I think we lost the minimum with 10s there. I could have just folded. I could have just folded to his flop bet, I suppose. Actually, did he bet flop? Did Tuna bet flop? How did he play this hand? You know, he's obviously making a very, very normal button raise. You know, he's making this button raise with all of his range. So ace queen is right there at the top of his range to be making this bet. When I'm calling, Tuna has no idea. These 10s are very well hidden. I'm checking. Tuna is checking behind. Yeah, so Tuna doesn't even bet. Tuna knows his ace is now extremely well hidden. And by me making a third pot size bet here, it really looks like I did hit this 9 and I'm betting it for straight value. Because I know that I'm getting called by any ace when I do have a third pot size bet here. So just the way the hand plays out, the 9 really is the only card in the deck that slows Tuna down in that spot. Tuna and Chaos Kid are probably going to be the toughest outs. DeCarlo was always a tough out, but he doesn't really push back as much as he probably should. I don't know how many players are getting points in this tournament. Out of 25, I think it's usually top 4 that get points. So, you know, next least amount of chips right now is me. Chaos Kid's got a tough decision right here. Wow. I like the bet, Chaos Kid. I like the bet. Wow. Wow. I think Tuna is going to be a little cautious and not want to play me out of position too much. If he leads out here, I think it's weakness if he leads out. If he's checking, I think I can bet 1600 and it's enough. I think 1600 is enough to where he's not going to continue unless he actually is connected with that board. If I do get raised here, I'm obviously folding, but I think it's 16. I think if I just bet 12, you know, I was just talking about, I had just raised pre-flop to 12, so in order for me to run a successful bluff, I don't think I can make a 1200 chip bet and realistically expect Tuna to fold. Just because I just don't think running a bluff where your bet is the same as your pre-flop bet is going to be working a lot of the time. It's like a pattern. You know how people are always trying to find patterns? It's just a pattern that I've noticed that I don't think Tuna is folding 1200. I think 1600 is just on the verge of him deciding that if he hasn't connected with at least a 10, he's letting go of his hand. And that's another reason why I am raising 3x instead of 2x. I really want Tuna to not be calling me as light as he probably would be calling me if I'm just min-raising pre-flop. I think we all make. I think we all get points if DeCarlo ends up losing and we end up going 4 ways here. So I think there is some value in trying to knock out DiCarlo, although there's really not a whole lot of value in giving DiCarlo a lot of chips. So you have to really be treading carefully. Blinds are about to go up to 250, 500. So DiCarlo's going to be in a really tough spot because he's only going to have 5 or 6 big blinds. So he's going to have to start getting active. I hope he doesn't try and get active on my big blind because I'm not going to be giving him the chips. I should be raising here. I think I can bet this very comfortably, knowing that DiCarlo's not going to get out of line here. So the question is, Tuna going to put me to the test? And I think it's very profitable for him to be putting me to the test here, because he knows that I don't want to get involved in a big hand with DiCarlo sitting here. So him with game theory is probably, like, it'd be very profitable for him to be putting some pressure on me, making me make a decision about my hand, knowing that I see DiCarlo here maybe going out in the next few hands, and I don't want to, ship a bunch of chips over to Tuna. So if this hand folds around to me, I think I'm just snap moving all in on DiCarlo. Top 2 has just way too many chips for me to even speculate at this point, so it does me more good to let DiCarlo make a decision, and worst case is he loses the 20% of his chips. Top 2, I really hope you're not just doing this light. Yeah, you're doing it real light, although you are flipping. I would have flopped an ace here, but I guess one way or the other, top 2 knocks out DiCarlo. So we are 4-handed. Top 2 did this light, but turns out, it just works out. I mean, I guess either way, because if top 2 makes this, it's just an unfortunate spot for DiCarlo to be in, and I guess he folded himself into oblivion. But if DiCarlo doesn't make this raise, I'm making a raise from the small blind. I'm raising the exact same thing, and DiCarlo is giving me even less credit from being in the small blind. And just the way the hand works out, like, it was almost like PokerStars was setting DiCarlo up to fail by having, I'd be interested to see what Tuna folded and Dirk folded, but something tells me that any one of our 4 hands was going to be the hand to knock out DiCarlo. So Tuna, what did you fold here, so we can know? So Tuna doubles up here. I wonder how that hand plays out. Let's see how this hand plays out. So top 2 decides he's going to raise pre-flop with a pocket pair of 4s to 4x, so he's protecting his pair. Tuna has to just flat call here. He's got to hide his aces. Also, Tuna re-raises. Good job, Tuna. Not what I thought you were going to do. Oh my god. Top 2 completely overplays his pair. Tuna makes an obvious call. So good. You know what? The hand, Tuna, you played the hand perfectly. You could have argued to have played it where you just call, check, because you know a continuation bet is coming anyway. So there's really no bad way to play that hand. It just works out where top 2 decided he was going to ship it. Now when top 2 loses 40% of his chip stack here, and then ends up folding to me, it lets me know that he's not tilting right now. He's saying to himself, look, I still have a lot of chips. I don't have to just spaz out. He's in a good spot. Here we go. We got the French fries hands. It's a hand that you like, but you kind of don't like. You don't want to have it too much. If top 2 raised, I probably would have re-raised. But I think I've been 3x betting. So I think I'm just going to continue my 3x betting. Probably the worst flop for me. But I don't think I can just I don't think I can just fold. You know, by me raising pre-flop, I very well could have an ace or a king in my hand, so unless my opponent has exactly an ace or a king in his hand, it's very difficult for him to continue in these spots. Pocket fives is another hand that's extremely vulnerable to being called, but I am on the button, so that's good, so I get to make my decision after the fact. I am going to be 3xing. When top two just limps, I'm okay with going to a family pot here and being in position and just essentially set mining. I would expect a min bet here from top two, something like 500 or 1,000. And I think it's going to get through just because I just don't have enough. I think Dirk calls, and I think Tuna folds. Tuna's fold. Oh wow. Okay. Well, Tuna's found a good spot to squeeze, and you know, Dirk calling looks really weak, so he's found a really good spot to squeeze. So you know, Tuna again using his experience in poker, you know, whether he has the cards or not, makes a raise that's large enough to look bluffy, but also be extremely effective against weaker hands, where you really need to have an extremely good hand to continue. And nobody really defined their hand pre-flop. So that's going to get through a huge percentage of the time, especially since Tuna's the chip leader here. Leading out on a paired board is extremely profitable to people who are not willing to make calls with king high and ace high. So I'm not mad at the lead out here. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Tuna has a king high or an ace high. I think if he has a jack, maybe he's not betting so quickly. This is another one of those spots where we just saw two jacks flop, and I was just talking about how superstitious I am, and you know, what are the odds of two jacks flopping for me on this next flop? I think the odds are extremely low, so I don't think I'm even going to be defending in this spot. I think I'm just going to be folding. Whenever somebody disconnects and then immediately reconnects and calls, I never know if it's a misclick or not. Like, I never know if they reconnect because they're freaking out because they're reconnecting. Tuna makes a really weird, basically, min raise. I think he's taking control of the pot with a flush draw. I wouldn't be surprised if he checks behind here. Tuna checks behind. Doesn't feel like checking behind right now. So Tuna's really taking advantage of a lot of weakness that he's sensing from Dirk Gently, and that probably comes from some reads that he has from playing against him on the previous table. Again, we haven't played against any of these opponents at any of our previous tables, so the first time that we've played against top two, Ugly Tuna or Dirk Gently in this tournament has been here at the final table. So they all have some sort of reads on each other that I don't necessarily have, and I am the odd man out, so they haven't seen the way I've been playing thus far. Last time top two bet this exact amount with pocket fours. So, I mean, until he shows something different, I'm picturing his range as 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. I don't know how I feel about this raise pre-flop because I expect top two to just shove over top, seeing as how Dirk doesn't have a whole lot of chips. So I'm just expecting top two to just say, fuck it, like if you have me beat, you know, you're just going to have to show me. And, you know, here we go. Pocket fours. So pocket fours is drawing dead to a runner-runner situation. And, you know, it's just unfortunate that top two can't find a fold. You know, I mean, he either can't call and he can't find a fold. If he snap raises here, I mean, that's just another example of people that I'm actually very surprised he didn't snap raise here. You know, Dirk has just wow, all in a call, ace king versus jacks. Ooh. Ooh. So Dirk has gone from, having basically no chips, having, 13,000 in chips, to being the chip leader in this tournament. I don't know. All my raises have been 3x raises, so I don't want to. I don't want to just all of a sudden not have a 3x raise. This guy, Dirk Gently, he just. I mean, is it possible that he could just have me beat all the time? I mean, am I really going to overplay my jacks here? I mean, if I call 1500 and I see a flop I don't like, I guess I got away from it. Not really the flop that I wanted to see, but I very well could be representing an ace. I'd be interested if Dirk checks behind, but he has so many chips that checking behind would just be terrible. Like, he's got to bet like 3,000 and just put me to the test. Yeah, this is basically a feeler bet. So I think I get this raised through a lot. If he doesn't have an ace. So yeah, so I think I read his bet of 2,000 as a feeler bet, and my raise wasn't because I thought my jacks were strong. It was because I thought his hand was not an ace. So I know that if he re-raises over top, that I'm basically in trouble. But I also was just going off of his 1/3 pot size bet. It was a little out of character for his range. So top two just min betting here. I don't like it. I don't like that he's just min betting here. But I mean, what am I ahead of? I mean, even if he has shit cards like Jack 4, I'm still behind, right? So I can't even pretend to have hit this flop, and I just earned myself 2,000 extra chips. So, I don't just want to give it away, right this second. I think King Queen is a raise. I don't know if I'm raising too much. Not too much amount wise, but too often. And when I get raised here, I think it's pretty nitty to just fold. Although Dirk has been 4-betting a lot, so I'm not going to get out of line. I'm just going to see a flop that I like, hopefully. And I didn't see a flop that I liked, so I can check fold. Dirk's just getting a sick run of cards, or he just figured out how to play poker, and he's just going to run over the table. I like this bet a lot more than I like his last bet, so I can, really consider making a play here sometimes, but I think his bet is a lot stronger here than it was before, so, I don't think you can fault me for raising with the King Queen. I think just calling from the small blind with King Queen, playing the hand out of position 3-handed. If I'm going to play it out of position, I want to play it heads up. So so I'm actually going to really be thinking about a lot of my decisions and talking out a lot of my decisions as much as I possibly can, and hopefully coming to some conclusions where I'm making some pretty good decisions, because I am still sitting with 40 bigs, right? So I'm sitting with 20K, and the blinds are about to go up to 300, 600, so it's going to cut down to 30 bigs. But still, I'm not in dire straits. I don't have 10 big blinds, and Dirk is extremely active. So it looks like he's going to want to play hands with me. So I'm going to want to have these chips in reserve for when I do, maybe in a few hands, end up getting a good hand. Again, we don't know a whole lot about Dirk. Fired 2 bullets against me with ace high. on a paired board. Both were quicker bets, about 66% pot. I called him with one pair, and I won. So we know that he is willing to bluff, but I think when you're playing four-handed, bluffing is a huge part of everybody's range. So just the fact that he was bluffing me in a nine-handed game doesn't necessarily mean that I can paint him as somebody who doesn't, who's impatient in a four-handed situation. So I don't know if that note really helps me right this second. He is the chip leader, and I need to be careful getting involved in pots with him. And I think the more patient player right now is going to earn some extra money by trying to ladder up. Ladder up is when you end up maybe playing a little bit more passively, thinking that a player other than you is going to get knocked out, and you're going to move up the points ladder, if you will. I like Tuna's raise here. I think he is known for making min bets look like more than min bets. He likes to hide his min bets behind weird raises. So so it looks more calculated, and I'm not mad at the size of the bet. He does have control of the hand right now. Dirk is leading out, donking out. Tuna has expressed that when he does see these donk outs, that he is raising these donk outs a lot. The fact that Tuna is just flat calling tells me he has at least ace high, if not better than ace high. Maybe he has something like tens. I don't think Tuna is folding here. Oh, maybe he is. Dirk firing 2 bullets here is going to take down the pot. Dirk's in a spot where he can do that now. Tuna just losing a big pot like that. If I have queen 7 or better, I'm making a raise. But with queen deuce, I feel like Tuna's going to be calling me a lot more because he just lost a pot. Not that he gets emotional, but I do think that, like here he's raising out of the big blind. I do think that he is going to, not just be passive the hand after he lost a big pot. So I think he's going to want to be playing Dirk in position while he can have him in position. Snap fold from Dirk. So there's a little bit of a sibling rivalry going on between these two knuckleheads right next to each other. If I were to just limp, I think it would look a lot fishier than if I raise. So I think I have to raise. I think raising from early position right here is a lot stronger than raising from the button. The question is whether or not I should re-raise back, and I don't think I'm going to re-raise back. I think I'm just going to call. So I'm in a pretty good spot. Just have to fade a jack here. So we get actually extremely lucky. Top two is in a huge cooler spot, and he's basically he's got jacks four-handed, so he's doing the right thing by he's definitely doing the right thing by re-raising and by shoving. Okay. Yeah, so he just gets cooler there with jacks, and it's just unfortunate. I think, I don't know if he can ever get away from jacks even on a king high board. So we all have pretty much 30 or 40 bigs. So this three-handed tournament could last a little while, but I'm not going to shy away from Dirk's raise here. I think. Now you know what? I'll fold. I'll fold. I think he raises to 1800 or something. I can I can call profitably. But he's raising 5 or 6x. You know, he's making it 36. Yeah, he's making it 6x on his raises. So when Tuna makes this raise here, if I call, I'm inviting Dirk into the pot, and I don't want to invite Dirk into the pot. So I think I just want Tuna to be calling here. He's in position. Now Tuna's got to be giving me credit for a pretty good hand here. I think if I bet 42, it's the same amount that I bet pre-flop, so I think I'm looking for a call here. If I do get min raised, I don't think I'm ever folding this hand. Like, I think it's just another cooler spot if he has me beat. And this looks like a feeler bet when I'm betting. It looks like I have an underpair like 9s or jacks or something like that. So Tuna can make a play profitably against me. By him making this raise, it is pretty strong, but I think my hand is just too strong to give up. So if he is making this raise, I think I want to make it look bluffy. You know, maybe Tuna's willing to ride with a 10 here. Maybe he has ace 10. But obviously, when I make this bet, I'm never folding. So Tuna has no fold equity. So he either has it or he doesn't. And, you know, maybe I'm up against King Jack. You know, maybe I'm lucky enough to be up against King Jack or King 9. You know, because if he has King 10, he's all in already. So, you know, maybe he does have a worse king. You know, if I move all in, I think he gets away from his hand. I don't know if he's Hollywooding here, but I do think this was a pretty strong raise. It looks very strong, so he's got to give me credit here. I mean, I think he's got to give me credit for having at least a king, like at the very least a king. So I guess this does look bluffy. But by him saying I think you're bluffing, I don't know if he's like he's got to know that if he shoves all in, that I'm calling. He has no fold equity. He's saying, you know, he's saying that there's no way I have ace king there, and he's right. Obviously, I don't have ace king there because, you know, well, I guess it's not obvious, right? I made the raise pre-flop. You know, I guess it's not totally obvious. But you know, Tuna knows he's going to end up seeing my hand. So, but I think he was testing me with that $8,200 bet, maybe with a 10. You know, maybe he has something like you know, ace 10. But when Dirk min raises and checks behind, I know I'm so far ahead that you know, that there's very little that I can bet here that's going to get called here. So maybe he hit a king and he wants to call 1,000. You know, I don't know. But I just don't think he's ever calling anything. So I have to put some chips in the pot and, you know, try and figure out a way to get more chips out of this guy. And you know, when he just calls 1,000 here, I think checking is wrong because I think a lot of the times he is looking me up with either queen high or a king or even a single ace. So maybe a 3,000 chip bet is the right move. Damn it. I don't know why I didn't call in this spot. I really don't know why I didn't call in this spot. Tuna, you got really lucky that I didn't call in this spot because I actually gave you credit. I was going to re-raise and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to re-raise. You know, I've been playing sort of on autopilot right now, and I think it's because I'm giving Tuna a lot of credit for playing a short stack. Like, I think his short stack game is very, very good. When he makes this min raise here, I think I can call. Obviously, I'm never getting away from this hand, so you know, I don't think Tuna bets. Actually, I think he checks behind, just because I'm in the hand and he doesn't want to get the pot overblown. So when he makes this bet here, there's two things I can do, right? So I can raise. You know, he min raised pre-flop, so he very well could have me beat. So I think I'm just going to call, see what Dirk does, and I'm still drawing. So he very well could have me beat. You know, when he makes that quick 1888 bet, he very well could have king queen, ace queen, a hand that he's never going to fold. So it looks kind of weird that I'm just, you know, kind of just calling in this spot, because I don't know what Tuna wants to do here. I don't know if he really wants to risk a whole lot of chips. Maybe 5,600 would be a good bet. I think 5,600 would be a good bet for him. I think he has it. Like, I think he has it all the time. Yeah, I just think he has queens beat pretty much all the time. I think he just has queens beat all the time. Like, I still don't think my queen is good. Like, I'm hoping he just checks behind with jacks or something, but I actually think he has something like ace-queen. In fact, I'm putting him exactly on ace-queen. I'm still calling. Like, I don't know what he's wasting his time for. Yeah, so, you know, he gets lucky to get me involved where, you know, he just min bets and hits a set. It's very hard to hit a set. I don't think I'm mad at the way I played the hand. Either way, the money's going in the middle, but I did read him for strength on every street. I did read him for strength on every street, so you know, I don't think. I think it is interesting that he didn't go all in. That he just left himself one chip, and that's interesting to see when he has the nuts. He's just doing that. I'm in position with king queen three-handed, so I don't think I'm ever folding. I could very reasonably 4-bet, but I don't think I want to right this second. Pretty much the best flop for me. I think I want to play this one fast. When the guy just sort of makes a $4,800 bet, you know, what am I afraid of? You know, am I afraid of anything? Who knows? You know, I don't know if I want to go out right now. I don't think I'm up against queen 8. I don't think I'm up against queen 6. You know, the only thing that really beats me right now is ace king, pocket aces and kings. You know, when he makes this bet right here, I think I'm just all in. So Dirk is, pushing his chips around and he's trying to blow me off a hand, but he has no idea the strength of my hand, and it looks like I was just check calling against Tuna, so maybe he thinks that he can make some big bets against me. But there's just very little reason for me to raise him on flop. I think when I see a safe turn like that, like if I don't see a king or an ace, and I see a nice little safe turn, I can very comfortably put all my chips in the middle. Tuna's going to lead out here for 888 or something silly like that. When he bets 600, I think I am just in call mode. I think my hand's just too good to fold right now. I think he's just too good to fold. I think he's going to have to show me an ace or show me that he has a better hand. Tuna may decide to bet 3 streets for value here with an ace. When he checks to me, I don't know why he would check to me. But I think I can bet 600 and it'll confuse him. I think this is a very confusing bet. I think this is just me trying to find out exactly where I am if I get check raised here. He'd be very smart to check raise this bet. But I have taken control of the pot, so I expect him to check. And I don't expect the queen to have helped. So I think I can just check, and I think he has something like ace deuce. I think exactly ace deuce. Okay. So he had me in a bad spot because if he does hit a 7, I'm probably paying him a little bit of chips. So we're still in a spot where we have Tuna's just going to win this pot against Dirk so often. I think he needs to give Dirk a chance to hang himself. So I could have played back with Jack 8, but I think Dirk is not going to play well out of position against Tuna, and Tuna's going to make really good decisions. So considering I have most of the chips, I have more than half the chips in the tourney, I don't think I need to play back with Jack 8. I think I can let Dirk lose a couple chips in these spots. Queen 9, I think is a fold. I really want Dirk and Tuna to just beat each other up at this point. The last thing I really need to do is to give Dirk any chips. He's going to be in position on me the entire tournament, so I really don't want Dirk having any chips. If I'm going to get involved in a pot, I have 60 bigs right now, 60 or 70 bigs, so it's not like I'm in a spot where I need to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit out and go take a leak, and these guys can fight over my big and small blind for a second. So hopefully, by me sitting out, maybe they're getting involved in more bloated pots because they don't have an opponent like me to slow them down. I've seen this be an effective strategy against 2 stacks that are trying to go after my big blind. Again, I have so many chips that I really don't need to be getting involved, and I'm perfectly happy letting Dirk and Tuna beat each other up. And I think Tuna's got an edge in this match. I like the bet. Tuna snap calls. Normally he takes a lot of time and thinks. Snap call is kind of weird. Dirk's going to fold. This is getting out of hand here. Maybe Tuna has the nuts. Just thinking, what can I bet and get called? Oh man. So I'm heads up against Dirk. We are actually playing really deep. We're playing with roughly 80 bigs, both of us. So this heads up match might be a little while. I'm going to take my time with a lot of my decisions. And my bets are going to be calculated. I think I can just bet. And Dirk's not going to want to continue unless he actually has a hand. So, you know, we've noticed that Dirk is completely happy and fine with. We've noticed he's very happy making 3 bets and 4 bets. So we're just going to take our time and really try and frustrate Dirk with our pace. I think if I take a slow pace and really, you know, really just make him think about all the moves that he's making, and it's really going to test his patience. But when we're in a spot where we both have a very similar chip stack, you know, I don't know how I'm going to respond to these frequent 3 bets. I might puss out early on just because the blinds are such where I can puss out. You know, is this a good flop for me? Kind of. You know, I think heads up, this is a pretty good flop for me. I think betting 2,800 is meant to induce. I think it's meant to induce me to do something silly. I think if he was bluffing, he probably would be betting bigger. I think I just have to call and see what the turn is. Maybe the turn slows him down. I think I can bet. $64.50. Yeah. So when Dirk makes this little third pot size bet, you know, we've seen that bet before. It's sort of like a feeler bet. So when we have a hand, even though 5s isn't really the best hand in the world, it is a hand where you can't just fold. You need to see a turn and give your opponent a chance to fold on later streets. When he's making this min raise, I'm defending pretty wide. We flopped an open-ender, so we're going to be in check call mode unless he overbets pot. Like, you know, say my opponent bets like 1,000 right now, I think I'm calling. You can make an argument for check raising here. But when he bets pot, I don't know what I want to do. I think I'm just going to give him credit when he's betting pot. I think we're still in a spot where we're feeling each other out. So, you know, I don't need to get out of line right this second. I think I have some time before I get out of line. And I think we're going to be going back and forth min-raising each other for quite some time, but I don't mind getting 3-bet and playing in position. You know, like in this spot right here, he's just going to be 3-betting me so much that I think I'm okay. You know, I might just give him this hand. I might just give it to him, just because if I notice a pattern like this, I'm gonna pick a good spot very shortly to 4-bet him to like 24,000 when I have a hand like Ace Queen or something like that. I've played opponents like Dirk before, but when your opponent is very comfortable 4-betting you a lot pre-flop, it is a very difficult person to be playing heads up, just because they're willing to gamble, and it might seem like they're willing to gamble a lot right now because they have chips, but I'd be interested to see if he continues this pattern when he gets down to about 20 or 30,000 in chips. We flopped basically 0 equity in this hand, so we're not even going to pretend to have hit this flop, but when the 8 pops off, I think we can make a bet because we do have a little bit of equity with the open-ended draw. When the ace pops off here, I'm not even going to try because I do believe my opponent has hit an 8. I believe my opponent has hit an 8, so I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna get out of line. Again, you know, I'm gonna let him make these pot-sized bets, and we're gonna find good spots to be 4-betting him. We haven't really 4-bet him a lot, so I'd be interested to see how he reacts when I end up 4-betting him. But I don't think I'm gonna change my behavior. I'm gonna be min-raising every button I get, and if he ends up 4-betting me on a regular basis, we're going to be in good shape. It looks like there's some variation in his 4-bet sizing. You know, last time he 4-bet to 7,700, this time he bet to 4,900. But I think Queen 3 is a fold. It's going to be very frustrating for Dirk because he's going to expect to be playing this tournament for like another 20 minutes. But I'm going to drag this tournament out. Him and I were going to be playing heads up for the next hour, and I'm going to really test his heads up patience here. You know, anytime you have an opponent who has lost their patience and you've kept yours, you're definitely in an advantageous position. You know, he could raise my next 4 blinds. You know, it's still so close where you know, all I need to win is one, you know, medium-sized pot from him, and I'm back in the chip lead. So, not too worried about it right this second. And again, I'm not going to change my behavior. You know, hopefully he'll just get to a point where he, you know, he decides that maybe he shouldn't be 4-betting me. When he does make this 4-bet, I do have a hand I'm willing to call with. When he does make this 3-bet, I do have a hand I'm willing to call with. I don't think I'm willing to 4-bet yet. And it looks like when he pots this, and he doesn't even think about it. He didn't even think about it. So, you know, I'm reading strength. I'm reading strength here. So, I'm going to let it go. And that's fine, you know, if he wants to be the table captain in this spot, I recognize the spot that I'm in, and I still have 50 big blinds. So, you know, he thinks he's going to run me over, but I've played against players like him before, and I know how to handle it. You know, I could go down to 20,000 chips at this point, and I still feel confident enough in my heads-up game. Didn't really flop anything here, so I'm just going to try and make a little $1,400 bet, see how my opponent reacts to that. You know, if my opponent decides he wants to react by raising, then I know that I can be making bets like that a lot and inducing raises in the future. So I'm going to think long and hard about this actually. I'm going to take about 16 seconds. You know what? Oh, that's fine. That's fine, Dirk. You're okay. You're an okay player. I believe in you, Dirk. I do believe in you. You know, you've had my numbers so far. You know, you've put yourself in a position where, you know, you can just be re-raising me all the time. And, you know, I don't think... You know, I don't think that he really understands what my goals are. I think he thinks I'm just playing super passive. I very well could be betting again, but I like the bet, Dirk. I do. I like the bet. I think it's a bluff, but I still like the bet. And I just don't have anything I can call you with, so you're going to win. So I'm not going to time out every hand, but as it starts to get out of hand, I am going to take a little bit more of my time. I do think Dirk is going to give me back some chips in some spots here. So if he makes it like $3 here, I can just fold. Yeah, 3,200. You know, it's going to be very frustrating for him when I actually do show up with a hand. Again, my behavior is not going to change. You know, there's very little that he's going to be able to do to get me to change my behavior. So, you know, I'm going to put myself in a position where my bets are going to be extremely difficult to read because they're pretty much going to be the same all the time. You know, I think odds are, you know, he's probably thinking I can let him have a small pot, you know. So, you know, you might think I would re-raise with this hand. I think I'll just call. I don't think he likes the fact that I called. But I am putting him on a continuation bet. But I haven't really flopped any equity. I don't even have a draw. If I had any sort of draw, I'd probably lead out and bet. This half pot size bet is probably exploitable. But again, I just like the amount of chips that I have right now, so I don't need to get totally crazy. I can, you know, really just take my time and make good decisions, and when I get down to about, you know, 20 or 30 bigs, I'll start to pick up my aggression factor. But right now, I feel like I'm in a good enough spot where I feel like my opponent is going to pretty much always be I think I can fold. This is probably the most passive that I've played playing heads up in a while. I'm trying to find a good spot, you know, just something where I can bet. You know, and again, my bets are tiny little third pot size bets, so you know, even when I'm taking stabs at pots, you know, it's really not affecting me too bad. I'm gonna have to pay for the information eventually. So I think if I get raised here, I'm just going to check shove. I mean, I'm probably just going to shove. So when he insta-checks, I think I'm just going to check behind. I hope that we get to showdown. I need to see what he's checking with on flops like this. God, I mean, maybe I'm card dead, but when's the last time I hit a flop? I mean, you're watching this video, right? Like, you guys are watching this video. When is the last time I hit top pair on a flop? I know making pairs is hard. I know. Trust me, I know. But, I don't think I've had even a hand that I can, you know, really press. Well, I guess here's a hand I can press. So when he's insta-checking here, I actually think I have the best hand a lot of the time. But I'm noticing that when he insta-checks, he's basically whiffing. Like, I don't think he's smart enough to be insta-checking with top pair. Obviously, like to see a flop with 6-7 suited, so we're going to go ahead and just call. Really miss. I mean, I'm missing left and right. I mean, literally left and right. And there's a lot of ways that I could be getting out of line, but I would have had to have bluffed every hand I won. Like, every hand that I won, I would have had to have bluffed. So, all things considered, missing every single flop, I don't think I'm doing too bad. Do I win this hand with 7 high? No, but I also am okay because I feel like, you know, I don't want to get out of line here. You know, maybe he just thinks he's going to trap me, but, you know, I'm playing so passive that it's almost unbelievably passive. Like, it's almost the type of passive where he's saying, I mean, come on, there's really nothing I can do to get this guy to put chips in the middle. But again, I told you I'm going to take my time with this guy, you know, pick my spots. The blinds are still, you know, I still feel like I'm in a good spot with these blinds. So I can bet 1600 here and pretty much shove any raise. Like, if I get raised here, I can just shove. Well, that's pretty nice. When he just calls, I could be beat, but I think I'll bet 4. I'm going to take my time. I'll bet 4,000. So if my opponent is calling me with a 7, which I think he's doing a lot of the time, he'll lead out here. And I just don't think he's calling. I don't think he's calling with worse. So I'm just gonna check. Yeah. So I kind of knew that he was. I knew that he was, you know, in this hand with a 7 and tried to trap me, and I was able to sniff it out. So, you know, my bet on the turn was size, so that if he was drawing, you know, if he was drawing, that that I would know by him just calling my 4,000 chip bet. So I don't think I'm going to be checking to him with a pair. Even though I just checked to him with a pair, I don't know what I'm thinking. When he bets 17 here, he's in position. I suppose I could be raising. I can make it 44. Yeah, so he's just you know, I've put an image together where anytime I push back, he's probably just going to go away. So maybe I'm at a point in the tournament where I can maybe exploit that. You know, he's done, you know, basically re-raising me. He's got so much of a chip lead at this point that re-raising me in some of these spots is probably not very profitable to do. But I think I'm going to check behind here with the hearts. Just for pot control purposes, because I do think my opponent will continue with a 10 of hearts, a jack of hearts, a queen of hearts, a king of hearts, or an ace of hearts. So even if I do hit a heart, my 9 is not the nuts. If my opponent does lead out, I think I can raise. Yeah, so, you know, anytime I'm showing strength, I've developed a little bit of, you know, oh my god, this guy's showing strength. You know, I don't know if I want to get involved in a hand with him. So, you know, he's gotten a feel for the type of player I am. Very patient in this spot, and I still have, you know, 40 big blinds, so I'm still in a good spot. And I think it's very frustrating for a player like him who probably is just expecting me to spaz out. Really no equity here, so I'm just going to check it. And, you know, if my opponent checks back, great. If not, then I can just let my hand go. You know, he's got enough chips where he can, you know, just be betting pot very profitably, and I'm going to be missing flops so often that I'm just not going to want to continue when he's betting pot. But I'm not going to pull the check raise move out too often. But I will be pulling it out sometime soon. So, you know, eventually he'll make a mistake. I think I'm just going to fold here. Actually, the only 2 times I've folded in this tournament, I've had 9-5 offsuit. So you can tell 9-5 offsuit is not my favorite hand. And normally when I'm folding, I'm expecting a raise back behind. So, you know, really missing pretty much all my flops. You know, even some of the hands that I've won just, you know, based on bluffing. But I'm folding very little. I mean, I'm flopping very little, and, you know, I'm just not happy with it. And he's making, you know, a whole lot of very profitable bets, but, you know, am I getting outplayed? I would say yes. I would say, yeah, I'm getting outplayed, but I'm also really playing this heads-up tournament trying to test my own patience based on the structure of the tournament. So the structure of the tournament is dictating that I don't need to panic right this second. You know, very well could be in a spot where, you know, I have queens and he has jacks and we just get it all in, you know, or vice versa. So I don't need to get it all in right this second. You know, when I raise pre-flop and then I c-bet on an ace-king board, you know, it looks very good. It looks very good. So I'm hovering right around 40. He's hovering right around 80. You know, any big hand, any 15K pot is gonna be a you know, put us right back to even. Do I want to defend with Jack 5? I think I do. So I do flop an open-ender, so I think I'll continue on a pot size bet even. I think I'll be continuing on pot size bets. But I also think that he's folding a lot when I'm making my raise. So, you know, in order for him to bet that, he's basically got to tell me that he has more than a pair. And I think I can make a raise there very, very comfortably. So if I get re-raised here, I think I'm defending with the 9-7. I don't know why he's only re-raising 2,000, but it's just too good a price for me to get away from the hand right this second. So yeah, so basically flop nothing, so I can get away from this hand now. But I wonder why he is checking it to me. I think this is my only opportunity to win the hand. Just to bet it now. Like, that's my only opportunity to win the hand. If I didn't bet it now, I'm just giving up the pot. So I think I'm okay just betting it there, you know, betting a nice pot size bet. So his raises have gone from min raising to 3x raising, and I don't think I'm going to be defending 6-4. I think I can just fold 6-4. You know, my style really hasn't changed very much. You know, I've been min betting. I don't think I'm going to play this hand either. I think I'm just going to time out and fold. I'm actually going to take a little bit more time and fold. I got plenty of time playing this guy heads up. Maybe play for another half hour and still be fine. Ace high, I'm obviously going to play this hand. Player limps. If I raise, I'm basically turning my hand face up, so I think I'm just going to check. So I flop pretty well. I think I'm in check call mode all the way down if he bets pot. I mean, this is precisely the type of hand I want to be in check call mode with, because it does look like he's making a half pot size bet, so I can be floating him with 7/8. I can be floating him with any 2 overs really. So, you know, let's see if he's going to actually show me, you know, that he paired his hand. And I'll judge by reading his bets. You know, by me just calling, it is kind of scary for him. You know, for him to be betting 4,500 here, it's still kind of scary for him. So I think I'm still in check call mode. I think this is a hand I'm probably going to take a stand with. You know, if he turns around and pot bets and he hit a queen, well, I guess it's pretty unlucky for me, but you know, I've done everything I can to basically rep a 5. So he either has a 5 or he doesn't. Now, if he moves all in, that's probably the best bet he can make. So when he bets 67.50, I think he hits the queen, and I'm just going to pay him off. Yeah, you know, sometimes you just know where you stand, and you've just made a decision that you're gonna pay somebody off. But it's still, I'm not in a spot where I have to, you know, really freak out. You know, hopefully I get raised here actually. by limping, I probably induced a raise, and now I'm going to be calling a raise in position with some callable hands. So, you know, maybe he gets out of line. I mean, the best thing right now would be kind of cool if I hit a flop, you know, because I really the best I've hit a flop so far is to flop that 4. Like, that's the best that I've hit a flop, and I'm just missing so often right now that you know, I mean, if you go back and you look at the hands that I've had, and I've been seeing a lot of flops and still missing a lot of flops, you know, it's pretty unfortunate. I'm supposed to hit at least a third of the time, and I'm not hitting a third of the time. So I'm really just counting on my my opponent to make a mistake with his chip stack, and you know, when he makes this bet and I have trips, if I raise, I'm blowing him off the hand. So by calling, it does look like I maybe will get him to fire another barrel. I do think he maybe checks behind if I check, but I'm okay. I think I might have been drawing, so maybe he makes another big bet. You know, I don't know how he's going to react to this. You know, is 11,000 in the pot enough for me to go after it? You know, I do have a really weak 8. You know, but maybe if I make it 12, he pays me off. It does look a little bluffy. So I'm never folding the hand, right? So if you guys are watching this at home, is there ever a time where you're folding this? Because you just can't, right? So if your opponent has a better 8 than you, you know, you're just stuck in the hand. I mean, did I defend with 8-3? How did I get involved with 8-3? But I think I just have to call. So my opponent ends up overplaying his hand, and you know, we end up back in the chip lead. So, you know, basically our strategy of taking our time and waiting for our opponent to make a gross mistake is it has been paid off. So now, you know, all that work, all that, you know, everything that he's done, you know, being the aggressor, he's just tipped his hand to me. He's let me know how he's willing to play in this heads-up match. And we have a lot of information on our opponent, and we're still back in the chip lead. So I think I can call here with a suited king. You know, and if I miss, I can, you know, just get away from the flop. But I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to give up and just check fold. I think I'm going to make a bet. When my opponent just min raises here, I think I'm going to re-raise. So my opponent has decided that he's going to push in this spot, and you know, maybe I overplayed my hand. I think it's clear I overplayed my hand, but I wanted to find out what that min raise meant, and I guess now I know what that min raise meant. So, you know, I'm basically going to let it time out. I don't want him to feel like I was doing this with air, even though I was obviously doing this with air. Yeah, I really botched this hand, and I think I know what a min raise looks like from him now, so I got a little bit of information, but it does look like I made a laydown like a pretty big jack. So, you know, good for you, Dirk. You know, you went all in. You know, hopefully that works out for you. I'm not just going to snap min raise because, you know, I just lost a big pot, but I am going to min raise after, you know, I have an option min raise. So when he does this, you know, what exactly is his range? And I think I have not a good. I don't have a hand that flops well. Like, my hand never flops well, so the only way I'm continuing is if I hit a 3. So yeah, so we hit a 3. I think I can comfortably call. I think I can comfortably call a bet. Hoping that Dirk decides that he's going to lead out again on turn. He hasn't really showed that he slows down after he gets called, so I'm 100% confident he's going to c-bet. This 2 doesn't look like it helps me at all, so he can very comfortably c-bet. I think I'm gonna bet something that's gonna piss him off. Like 5,000. That's really gonna piss him off. You know, the only thing that really beats me right here is a straight. You know, if my opponent has a straight, I'm beat. So maybe 8,800. So yeah, so we're close to even again. I expect a 3x raise, and I'm going to be defending with Queen 8. You know, I don't know if Dirk has a lot of, experience playing heads up. You know, I do love the way he's playing. By the way, like, Dirk, if you're watching this, you're playing really well. You're doing all the things that you need to be doing. I'm simply putting to work a strategy that works really well against your type of player. This is not how I normally play heads up. I am simply reacting to your style. So, you know, very much like two ninjas, right? Like, if two ninjas were to fight each other, you know, maybe one uses tiger style, and to counteract the tiger style, maybe, you know, the defense is crane style, and maybe, you know, right now your Dirk is in tiger style, and my defense is crane, and, you know, hopefully, you know, it'll counterbalance itself to where, you know, we're gonna end up here at a stalemate, and, you know, maybe when the blinds get super big, he might say, you know what, John, it's fucking 1 in the morning, let's just chop this tournament. I don't think I can just not bet. I think I have to take a stab at this pot. I think when he snap calls, I think I can just check behind, knowing that a 7 is the only thing I'm going to continue with. I don't even have a spade to continue. And again, my style of play is to allow my opponent to really, you know, I want my opponent to really spaz out. So, you know, when my opponent leads out for pot, you know, maybe I call. I really want to call here. Alright, you win. You win. So my opponent is leading out river, and, you know, maybe he's looking up right now what I am calling him with. You know, I did have a straight when I made the call, so I'm not in really bad shape. So I think I can bet like 1100 here, and I have the best hand a lot of the time. You know, if Dirk wants to fight me on every pot, I really do like Dirk's style. You know, I do like Dirk's style. But I don't think, I think I'm just going to notice that, you know, my small, you know, half pot size bets are either not getting, like they're never getting through, right? Like he's never folding. He's either calling or he's raising. So, so I like the way he's playing. So I can just min raise here with aces and hopefully get called. So when we get raised here, I think the right thing to do is call and then shove any flop. Well, I haven't really 4-bet him. So yeah, so this is an obvious call. Alright, so, you know, we've put our opponent to the test. You know, his aggression with pocket sevens, I'm not mad at the aggression. You know, he had a pocket pair heads up. So, you know, a lot of the time when you have a pocket pair heads up, you want to get aggressive. You know, but it looks like, you know, it looks like we're in another good spot where we're chip leading. And I think I want to be betting. You know, we're not even at a point where I can start hammering away at my opponent because he still has 20 bigs, or more than 20 bigs. You know, he still has like 30 bigs. So I still can't really hammer away at my opponent because he still has plenty of time to recuperate. So we flopped a really good, we're in a really good spot right here. So we are going to, you know, make our standard you know, bet of, you know, 2 times the big blind. Maybe we get called. We do have a redraw here to a flush, so I don't mind checking back behind. And pretty much calling all bets. If he pot bets, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I've shown that I'm willing to call his pot size bets. So I really don't know what this bet means. I think last time he did that when he actually had it and he wanted to make sure he got called. I'm actually putting my opponent on a flush. I don't think the jack helps, but I am putting my opponent on a flush. So yeah, so he's making a reasonable bet on the river to try and win the pot, and my hand was just too good to just fold to a half pot size bet. You know, a lot of people are going to be scared of the king or scared of the flush, and that's probably why I didn't raise. I think I can just check give up this hand. And, you know, even with the redraw here, I think, well, actually, you know, maybe a min bet, you know, and he's continuing with all his diamonds, and yeah, so I think he's continuing with all his diamonds, and when the ace pops off, I'm not putting him on the ace of diamonds because I think an ace raises pre-flop. So, so I think I'm okay with making a little half pot size bluff there. In this spot here, am I going to call an all-in? Maybe, I don't know, but I think I'm not just going to slow down and just stop raising the button. And I haven't shown that I'm willing to raise anything besides double what the big blind is, so my hands are very well disguised. Dirk's going to want to be raising big for his big hands and just calling when he has hands he wants to see flops with. It's actually a really good raise from Dirk if he does have a very good hand, because it's right there in the middle. It's like an excellent raise from Dirk. But a hand like Jack 10, I think I can defend pretty much all the time with a hand like Jack 10. I pretty much miss everything. Let's see if Dirk wants to continuation bet. Last time I just called him, I had aces. So if I insta check, then I actually have a straight draw and a flush draw. So I'm in check call mode right now, as I think Dirk might be in check mode as well. When he makes this bet, what is he saying? You know, he's basically saying, I think I can call. Dirk's going to be really nervous. He's got to be really nervous. And, you know, he's really only continuing with a flush. So, you know, either he's moving all in here knowing that I'm weak, which is very possible that he's good enough to know that I'm very weak. But, you know, I'm going to give him some credit here, and I think I'm just going to fold. We're still in, obviously we're in very good shape. Our opponent has, you know, 35% of the chips that are in play, and we have more than that. So let's just check and see if we're still recording here. Oh god, this video is just taking forever. I don't know if I'm gonna even be able to post this video on the internet, because it's probably just way too long. My opponent bets here. I think I'm gonna be raising. I think there's just too many scary cards where I'm not going to want to continue. So I think I'm just going to be raising to where he has... Yeah, I think I'm just going to be raising to where he can't just reshove and think he's going to get a fold. So, you know, I should also be raising in this spot, but again, I have so much time. Like, there's just so much time. Flop middle pair here. I don't think I can check it. I think I can just bet. You know, if my opponent really wants to put me to the test and move all in when I make those types of bets, then that's really up to him. If I min raise and he shoves, am I calling? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, you know, obviously I hope my opponent gets out of hand here, and so I'm just going to be checking behind here a lot of the time, because I want my opponent to think that he might be able to steal this pot from me. So I'm going to min bet this. I'm going to bet 1600, and hopefully my opponent just goes crazy. I guess not. But that's fine. I mean, we raised pre-flop with an ace, we hit an ace. You know, these are the types of hands that we want to get it all in with. Let's see if he wants to. Let's see if you want to get it all in right now, buddy. I guess not. I don't think I'm gonna tolerate you limping when I have an ace anymore. You're gonna have to show me that you have a better hand. When he makes this raise, I think I'm just going to call. Yeah, I don't want to tip off that I have an ace, so I think I'll just slow call. And we'll see what happens on the flop. So obviously I flopped the world. And I'm just going to min bet, hopefully induce. If I min bet, hopefully I'll get in. Hopefully it'll induce him, but I guess not. I guess not. Maybe I get a continuation bet. I mean, he's been known to send in a continuation bet on pretty much every flop. I probably should have just checked that. I probably definitely should have just checked that flop to him. You know, like, you know, when you flop two pair there and your opponent's taking the lead, you know, maybe you should absolutely always just be checking and letting him lead out and then check shoving on him. So, you know, we are showing up with a bunch of aces, and I don't think I'm going to give my opponent a chance to outplay me. So, you know, I think if he has like king jack, he'll call. So, you know, maybe he'll call. Yeah, queen jack. So we're actually in decent shape. Alright. So yeah, so that's it. Took down that tournament. That's always fun. You know, my whole point was trying to put together a style that is going to combat. I didn't want to fall into his game. I wanted to play my game and combat his game. So, you know, this video has been going for quite some time. You know, Dirk played a really good game heads up. Hopefully we get a chance to do a rematch. I think that was probably one of the best heads up matches that I've had in a very long time. It forced me to, you know, basically look at a style that I'm not very comfortable playing in the weak passive style, but he forced me to do it. So we'll pick this up next time. Very glad that I won that tournament, and I got 13 points out of the deal, so good for me. Alright, talk to you guys later, and see you guys at Tunas.